pesto with the things that capture a lot of pesto.
Yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think I've actually ever had pesto.
You've never had pesto?
I need you to understand that my parents' taste in food is very limited. And so growing up, I didn't really have a lot of exposure to a lot of different kinds of food.
Mm.
And I have been in a position as an adult where I haven't had enough money to like experiment with things that I didn't know for a fact I was going to enjoy eating. Uh,
I just would have expected you to have had pesto maybe at a restaurant sometime.
yeah, I know. I've never given it a try or anything. Because again, it's a matter of like, I can try something new and maybe not like it and then not be able to afford anything else to eat, or
Mm,
or I
yeah.
can get something that I definitely know I'm going to eat. Is kind of the conundrum, which is why I've been trying out new things lately.
Yeah. Well, I just realized I have no water in here.
Oh, go get some water.
I'm role playing.
Okay. There's water in Alafra. At least there was.
Oof.
Oof.
Fine. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Are you sure you don't want to go get some water?
No, I am gonna go get some water. I'm just
Okay.
finishing one more bite of food.
Oh, let's see. It's probably fine as about Alafra, not about the water. Got it.
Okay. Water. Water!
Sandy!
Oh, I need some water!
Sandy! Hello, people watching this on YouTube. I assume that the recording is happening right now. Yeah. I was gonna say something funny, then I spaced out. So I don't have anything to say. Oh my fucking god. Y'all are in for some shit with this one. Y'all don't even know. Tom don't even know. I mean, Tom kind of knows, because, he wrote the backstory. But y'all don't even know. This could be some shit.
Okay.
Okay.
I have water.
Okay.
I have water.
Ready.
I have that weird pre-campaign anxiety that happens to me every single time, even though I've been playing D&D for 10 years.
Yep.
I don't have any dice.
Yeah, go get some dice. You might. So you will probably need them at some point. I will just set expectations. My intention for this solo session and everybody's solo session for Calculation has been very much like this is going to be a very narrative kind of thing. I've got a lot of little snippets to read for you. It's very much just going to be like establishing a lot of backstory stuff.
Okay.
For you. So there will be definitely places for you to interact. You are also always welcome to like cut me off and interact somewhere if I'm in the middle of some kind of narration. Please feel free to do that because I have a lot of stuff written. We've got a lot of stuff to cover for Sahir.
Okay.
Got it. You have a pretty beefy backstory. So.
Okay.
I think that ass. My notes my notes for Sahir are twice the length of anybody else's so far.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
It's not a problem. It's just like, oh god.
Okay. 1 second. I gotta lower the volume on this a little bit more.
Yeah.
It's always hard
The
to
ending
tell
of that
because
song.
sometimes, yeah, when a song has a sting right at the end,
Yeah.
you're like, oh god. Okay.
You ready to play some Dungeons and Dragons?
If I remember how to. Alright, let's go.
You still remember the first time that you met God. You were 5 years old, but the details leading up to that fateful divine encounter are still as plain in your mind as if they had happened yesterday. The fertile winter season was in full swing, and the streets of the city were bustling with activity and bursting with life. The wind jostled ripe sweet fruit loose from the trees lining the streets. Merchants hawked their wares to passers-by, stopping to cast a friendly greeting to you as you walked past. and your flock of ducks paddled contentedly through the lily pads and lotuses as you accompanied them from the banks of the Ambrosia River. It was one of the first times your family had trusted you with shepherding the flock on their daily journey through the city's channels all by yourself. And though you were eager to do a good job, it was a lot of walking for such small legs. The ducks paused for a moment, quacking and carrying on as they patrolled a few square yards of the channel and dove for snacks, and you decided to take the opportunity to rest your tired little feet. You slipped off your sandals, hung them from one of the broken off branches of the stick that you'd found earlier, jammed the bottom of the stick into the silty soil so that it would stand on its own, and plunged your feet into the water. Sat like that for a while, just swishing your feet and enjoying the morning breeze. Every now and then the ground shook. Just tiny tremors, the likes of which were so common throughout the city on any given day that you hardly took notice of them. Still, they grew in magnitude as you sat on the banks of the river, and slowly, the tone of the market behind you shifted, and the ducks grew more agitated, though they didn't scatter. And then a wind blasted you from behind, warm and direct, and not at all like the sweet breeze fluttering through the trees around you. Cautiously, you turn around and came face to face with God. You had seen him before, but only at a distance when Khatun or Abdal pointing over your shoulder at a great mass trundling through the river. From that far away, his size had been difficult to judge, but now his snout, broad and covered in mossy whiskers, was so close that you could touch it, and his size staggered you. A colossal hippopotamus, bigger than the high temple itself. His skin made of variegated stone, his back and head covered in mud and vegetation, with egrets and ibises and cormorants perching on the rocky ridges of his brows and upon his ears. Around his broad feet, and in a path behind him, marking his great footsteps, plants sprang from the earth in brilliant, blooming flowers. For a moment, you just stood there, frozen before God's majesty. And God stared back at you. A common hippo might have attacked you, but not God. He had a temper, to be sure, but in your heart, you knew his was gentle. Distantly, you realized that you were in his way. Pulling your stick from the ground, you bowed before God, and then
Gotta get out of here.
and then
Bow,
scurried down the bank.
bow backing up.
Yeah. Bow back up, just kind of continuing to bow as you go.
Yeah.
Hi, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. That's God, he's right up next to you, what the fuck? You scurry down the bank until you're certain that you would no longer be underfoot. No sooner did you skid to a halt than God snorted at you once more, perhaps in gratitude, you thought. And with a satisfied moan, plunged himself into the channel, the waves his body created, displacing the lily pads and lotuses and sending your slightly startled flock into the air. You watched as he waded out into the deepening waters while your flock sailed down to mill about your muddy feet, your previous exhaustion completely forgotten. Those days were peaceful and bright. But unfortunately, times change.
Oh.
Good morning, my love.
Oh.
You
okay.
open... No, you're good. You open your eyes to the light of the sunrise, spilling past the sheer, billowing curtains and into your room. In the distance, you can already hear birdsong as the city of Al-Wafra stirs awake. There is a comforting, rhythmic tremor that you recognize in the back of your mind as God making his way through the delta. And beside you, white silks, practically glowing against her dark skin as the light catches on the gold ornaments in her umber curls and makes her eyes sparkle like smoky quartzes, sits Nanaya, one hand gently stroking the hair out of your face. If you don't get out of bed soon, you aren't going to have time to see me off before I head out of town.
Well, it is a beautiful day. We could stay longer in bed.
You know, I wish I could, but I really do need to start getting on the move if I'm going to get there in time.
Okay. Okay.
You don't have to be worried about anything. You're going to do fantastic while I'm gone.
Yes.
You would
I
know.
know all the things that I'm supposed to say. I know all the places I'm supposed to be. It's just different when it's facing you.
You've been doing a fantastic job these past, 7 years now? 9? I know you're going to do fantastic. It's going to be good. You're going to do great.
Okay.
And I would trust no one else but you to do it.
Thank you.
Don't thank
Thank
me.
you.
Just get out of bed. Kind of pulls off the bed and moves away to go finish getting dressed. You would know that Nanaya is she's leaving for a little over a month is what it sounds like it's going to be. It's the longest she's been away from the city for a long time, but this war has been going on for a solid 7 years now. And it thankfully hasn't fully reached Al-Wafra yet. It's still fairly new. There have been some minor incidents here and there, but there is some growing concern, and certainly the news spreading through the city from the various refugees that have been flooding into Al-Wafra has been causing some disturbance among the citizens. And so Nanaya has chosen to leave temporarily to attend a religious summit with high priests and priestesses of multiple different religions for the purpose of basically having a discussion about how can we guide our flocks through this. Like, how can we, make sure that people, like, their mental health and their spiritual well-being are taken care of during this harrowing war that's raging right now. And since she will be gone, she's left you in charge.
I think Sahir rises and grabs some of the sheets for decency
Yeah, sure.
and walks over to. I imagine there's like a big broad window here.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Walks over to the window and kind of like looks out, but not at the city, but looks further beyond to the horizon. And I think, as has become his kind of growing paranoia, looks on the horizon line for any sign of smoke or red or any kind of sign of any invading force. That concern, I think, is starting to loom in the back of his mind.
Sure. Yep. Go ahead and give me a perception check.
13.
13. You stare out for a good long moment, just to be sure. Nothing immediately catches your attention.
You will be careful, won't you?
Of course I'll be careful. What, do you think I'm just gonna carelessly throw myself around when there's demons and angels and whatever else out there? You hear her from behind
Yes,
this
but
sort of partition.
this summit will be a target. I'm sure
Perhaps.
that they have spies in our midst. We've accepted so many refugees.
Perhaps. Kind of a solemnness to her voice. It's something that I've considered. I am, of course, taking a retinue with me, and there will be many, many other people there with abilities similar to my own. So, I can't say that I know what's going to happen for certain, but I know that I have God's blessing. And what more could I need?
I don't know. I'm turning to look back at the I guess privacy sheet.
Yeah, it's like one of those one of those dividers. It's like that you can like fold, like collapsible divider things, kind of stand there.
A handsome lover, perhaps.
If I could take you with me, I would. Believe me. She comes around, kind of leans on the divider. But I need you here because if you're not here and I'm not,
I
then what are
understand.
people going to do?
I know. It'll just be a very long month.
Hmm. I promise to try to come back as fast as I can.
I'll look forward to it.
Goes over, gives you a smooch.
Right. I should get dressed, I suppose. If you are leaving, I should see you to the gates.
I would appreciate that.
And I think Sahir starts getting dressed.
Okay, yeah, you get dressed. You get dressed. She waits for you. You kind of, chatter idly as it goes on. It's this weird kind of chatter of like you're about to part ways for a while. And this is the first time this has really happened in your relationship, and so it's like this imminent. It's like you're talking to somebody and then you have to set them off on the airport for a while. And neither of you are kind of wanting to talk about that part because it's unspoken. But eventually you finish getting ready and you
and just as a reminder for myself, at this point Sahir is how old?
At this point he's 27. He's 27 years old.
Okay.
Yes. I'm not sure like how long you think that he has been in the service or like been a part of the temple. I can tell you that the Starfall happened when Sahir was 20.
I think it probably would have been when he was like 18.
Okay, that's kind of what I thought, but I wasn't 100% sure. Okay, so yeah, you've been in the service to.
And how old is Nanaya?
She is 10 years your senior. She's around
37.
like 37-ish.
Okay.
Let me double check. I don't remember if I actually wrote down her exact age. I did not, but she's like around 37. She's about 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, you gather up your things. You grab your staff. You get dressed. The two of you grab a little bit of breakfast on the way out. There's the priesthood. You are certainly not the only two members of the priesthood here. You're just the two most prominent figures in Al-Wafra. And the rest of the acolytes in the priesthood are kind of scrambling around, preparing for to see the high priestess off. Packing, getting her bags ready, getting some provisions ready to go, getting she has a carriage with an ox that's going to be pulling it, and together you start to leave the temple grounds with this sort of retinue behind you. As you pass through the gates of the sort of temple campus, you can see that there are a bunch of people, common folk, that are sort of gathered around. And when they see you come out, when they see Nanaya come out, they sort of point and whisper, and you can tell that this is a growing throng of people who have gathered this early in the morning specifically to see her off and wish her well on her journey. You are not the only person who's concerned about her well-being while she's gone.
Yeah, I think this is where Sahir's kind of natural charisma really comes out, and this is kind of like his. He will show his concern in private, but at this point he is putting on the like no concern. This is totally fine. Like very good parade etiquette, basically. And like knows a bunch of people in the crowd by name, and is like, that's like kissing babies and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, oh, your kid is Mr. Fluffy Kittens okay? And it's like someone holding a dog, like, oh,
right,
that kind of thing.
I think the people really are very receptive to that. There are a few people throughout town who are not like your biggest fan. You don't have any like haters, I would say, but there are some people who are like, he's too young to be in the position that he is. Like, he has clearly been like, this must be like an aspect of nepotism because it's very obvious that there's something going on between him and the high priestess. Like, We're not sure if he's up to this task, but most people, I would say, in town, having grown up around you, and seen you going around, with the ducks, and just knowing you as a person and the way that you've conducted yourself over the past 9 years, in the priesthood, are very, very trusting of you, and uh, think very highly of you.
Okay. Yeah.
As you continue on down the path toward one of Al-Wafra's gates, you pass by a park. It used to be pristine, just this beautiful, like the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, this beautiful, space that has since become a refugee camp for thousands of families that have been displaced by the war, seeking shelter. Um, you haven't, thankfully, seen a lot of the effects of the war. There have been a couple of, a couple of demon attacks here and there over the past few months, but nothing major. But from everything you've been hearing from these refugees that have been flooding it, it's bad out there. Their presence in the city is sort of controversial among Al-Wafra natives because very few of them pay God the respect that they feel that he deserves. They don't view him as a god. They view him as a particularly powerful being, certainly, but they worship foreign gods and foreign religions and are sort of bringing that into Al-Wafra for, maybe not the first time, but certainly much more prevalently than has happened before. And so that has made their presence here kind of controversial. You eventually make it to the gates. The walls around Al-Wafra and also
Actually,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, when we're passing by there, I think Sahir would actually take the time to
Oh.
like go to the edge of the camp
Oh.
wherever there are like any kids or whatever, and
Yeah.
cast good berry, and distribute good berry to all the kids and be like, "This is a blessing from Tamazid, blessing from Tamazid, blessing from Tamazid."
They
It's like
they eat that shit up.
Oh yeah. And I think Sahir's kind of disposition towards these refugees is one of they have come here because their protectors have failed them, and now we can protect them because we are bountiful, we're blessed, we are well protected here, and this is an opportunity to show Tamazid's power and protection and all that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that definitely tracks. And the kids that you give these good berries to are thrilled. They're like, "Oh, this is great." You can kind of glance up and see that a few of people you presume are probably their parents are not as thrilled with the religious doctrine that's coming with the berries. But they don't confront you about it. They just kind of give you a side eye from a distance.
And go back and rejoin the procession.
Anaya kind of gives you a nod, like you have known her long enough. You can sort of you almost have like a telepathic thing with her. You can just with facial expressions and body language, and you could tell she approves of that move. She thinks it was very wise. You eventually reach the gates. The gates are the walls and gates of Al-Wafra have been built with Tamuzid in mind. He's girthy, and he doesn't just remain within the bounds of the city. He patrols the entire delta, which goes far beyond the gates of the city itself. And so the gate has been built along one of his normal stomping grounds. Like, this is just the path that he normally takes out of the city, and the gate is also big enough to accommodate his entirety, so that he can walk through it without busting anything down, because people don't want to get in his way. When you get there, she at this point you've accumulated like this massive, just enormous throng of people that are all wishing her well. So she takes the opportunity. She climbs up to the top of the gate, and looks out over the crowd, and spends a few minutes addressing them, thanking them for their well wishes, promising her swift return, and also supporting you as her substitute in her absence. There's kind of murmurs through the crowd as this is going on. And as she speaks, the rumbling of God's footsteps begins to grow. And soon, he appears through the trees and begins to lumber his way toward the gate. There are gasps and murmurs in the crowd as he approaches. How fortuitous. God himself has come to offer his blessing to Nanaya in advance of her journey as well. Up on top of the gate, she drops to her knees in supplication, and you hear her call out, "Oh God, you humble me with your mighty presence. My gratitude for this, your mightiest of blessing, knows no bounds." The crowd parts around God like a school of fish as he moves toward the gate. But when he reaches it, you notice he doesn't pay any mind to Nanaya or her litany of prayers. Instead, he stops and turns to look at you for a moment before snorting a familiar puff of breath that ruffles your hair and continues his trek out into the delta. Nanaya doesn't skip a beat. "You have heard that I have placed my faith in Priest Sahir, and now you have seen that the Lord God has done the same. So fear not, my children, he will guide you with grace and wisdom, just as I have done these long years." And it gestures out at you.
Sahir says something sufficiently charismatic. I, however, am paralyzed by awkwardness.
That is okay.
Yeah,
you take a few minutes to kind of address the crowd and, just kind of accept her well wishes and make well wishes of your own and stuff like that, I assume.
Yeah, basically, and give blessings to her and the convoy, and then speak to the people and say that Tamazud is our protector and that the city will be safe. And then in a month's time, our high priestess shall return, with more knowledge and aid, and we will turn the tide on this dark time in our history.
Fantastic. For your notes, if you are taking any, which no pressure. This is, I don't have a specific date for this, but this is sometime in the middle of Noctua, the month of Noctua, in the year, where is it? 44 BE, before Empire, basically. Of course, that would not be the year that Sahir would know it as, of course.
Right.
But it's like the Romans. What are we counting down to?
Yeah.
But yeah, it is the month of Noctua. Sometime toward the middle. And she's gonna be gone probably until the middle of Horus, which is past the new year.
Okay.
And for the desert, that is like prime fertile season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. All right, I was gonna ask, was that like winter or what? So it's the high fertile season.
Yes. So like technically, this is still like this is still in the northern hemisphere of this world. Just like Norfall, it is a lot closer to the equator, and it is in a more arid area. So, doing some research, deserts like the Mojave and stuff like that tend to be particularly fertile and bloom in between like October and April, I want to say. So that's kind of, you're in the middle of like a fertile period right now in winter.
Okay.
You see Nanaya off. Watch her caravan kind of go off into the distance. And eventually she, it passes through enough trees that you can no longer track her. You can still hear Hamazid in the distance, kind of thumping around, doing his thing, snorting every now and then. And then she's gone.
I think Sahir looks after the departing convoy with like a twinge of apprehension. I think there's something in his gut that is saying this is a very dangerous time, but I think he also has like a very deep-seated faith in both Nanaya and Tamazid that everything will be okay, that that Al-Wafra has repelled some minor incursions, and that they are far away from the front lines and that everything will be fine. The city will be able to hold, and the tidings of danger and doom and fall of other cities in the far distance that have been brought by the refugees won't come to pass here. But I think there's also that fear kind of like makes him, like, almost subconsciously, I would say, do the thing when like a storm's coming and you walk around your house and you check all the windows are closed.
Yeah.
And I think his version of that is walking around Al-Wafra and kind of reassuring people, revisiting some old places that he used to, his old haunts from when he was a kid, and just checking in on people, distributing good berries and words of wisdom, and yeah, that kind of thing, before
Fantastic.
heading back to the temple eventually.
Yeah. Well, so you do eventually head back to the temple, but before that, um, you you spend the day making your rounds, kind word here, offer of assistance there, occasionally sort of stop in a square to recite a sermon to a crowd or a story laced with some undertones to a group of wide-eyed children, distribute some good berries, things like that. And normally after a day like this, you would absolutely head back to the high temple and into Nanaya's waiting embrace, but tonight is a little bit different. Tonight your feet lead you back down the practice path toward your family home. Your siblings are all married, all except for your brother Barim, for which your parents give him no end of grief, and have all moved into adjacent homes in the waterside community that you called home. But once a month, your parents insist on hosting everyone for a family dinner. Everyone, including you. And so tonight is that night. We're heading down to to your home for the first time. And how often do you think that Sahir kind of goes back and visits? Do you think that he just goes back like once a month or whenever he can help it, or do you think he's back here like maybe once a week?
I think he comes to family dinner like once a month, but I think he would probably see his like brothers, sisters, father, mother, that kind of thing around town, just randomly, because I think Sahir does genuinely spend I don't think Sahir locks himself away in the temple. I think he spends a lot of time wandering the streets. I think in some ways his experience growing up as a waterfowl herd has translated to now he's just wandering the streets like he used to with the waterfowl, but now his flock is the people of Al-Wafra.
I think that's fantastic, and I think that's probably part of the reason why the people trust him so much, because there certainly are a lot of other priests that do sort of lock themselves away in the temple and constant supplication, or they will follow Tamuzid around and not really pay anything else any mind. But Sahir's a little bit different. Sahir is more focused on the people that are part of his community, and how to sort of connect them with divinity in a way that I don't think a lot of them are super used to at this stage. So they really respond well to that.
And I think I have this picture in my head of Sahir, of what Sahir's home looks like. Do you have a description as well, or
not specifically? I have very very broad terms, because I wasn't sure.
So I'm imagining a simple kind of mud brick structure that's down near the water side, but it has like a very large yard that has a couple of fenced-in area for the ducks to roam in. And I imagine that as Sahir like approaches the gate, there's just like this swarm of like 100 to 200 ducks that just come waddling up. And he kind of like parts the sea of ducks and greets many of them by name. As he like beats his way through the flock effectively, very cautiously and carefully, and it takes him like 3 minutes to travel a space that could be crossed in like 20 seconds. As he makes his way to the front door and knocks.
It occurs to me in this moment that I pulled up all of these different sound effects and cool things on my end over here on Warforged Bard, but I forgot ducks somehow. God damn it! Here, we'll just. I don't know if this is going to come up in the recording, but there.
Yeah, it's just a lot of ducks. Yeah.
Yeah, you come up to the door.
I don't think Sahir even knocks, honestly, because I think the ducks make enough noise.
Oh yeah, people know.
Why would anyone knock?
Yeah, people know that you're here. And you can hear as you come up. You can hear your mother inside being like, "Oh, that'll be Sahir." It's just like kind of shouting over this cacophony that's
Mhm.
that's coming from outside and inside. You head on inside. It is a welcome change of pace, just being in with your kin again. The women, your mother, your sisters, and your sister-in-law are kind of clattering around the stove, and the men, your father, your brothers, and your two of your brothers-in-law, um, are just laughing uproariously in the common room, while your oldest nephew, Labib, tries desperately to keep his three cousins out of trouble, as they chase the ducks around and and so forth. It's a pretty big family, but you know it's one of those families where everybody sort of knows what they need to be doing. Everybody, it's like a dance, getting ready for dinner. Um, there's no like bumping into each other. It's everybody knows what they need to be doing.
Yeah. I think um, his sister's the oldest, right? Katoon?
Yes, Katoon is the oldest. She's 9 years your senior.
Okay. Does Katoon have kids herself?
She does. She is actually Labib's, the teenager's mom. She got pregnant very young. She had Labib when she was 19.
Mm.
So he's almost an adult at this point.
Oh, okay.
He's like 17 years old, um, and he's looking at starting to strike out on his own. But right now he's on babysitting duty, which he's thrilled about.
Yeah, I think then Sahir like greets his siblings and asks like common pleasantries like,
Yeah.
and did you were telling me you had a leak in your roof. Did you manage to fix that?
I did. This is Abdal, your older brother. He's 7 years your senior. Like I did. It's that's all it was giving me a bit of a problem about it. So I did
Well,
eventually get around to it.
if you want, I can come by and bless it to make sure that the roof holds steady.
Well,
It's
thank you.
supposed to be the fertile season is coming.
It is. It is. I think that it's going to be a very good one, and you are certainly welcome to. I think I have it covered, but I appreciate it. You know that Abdal is one of the few people in your family who is not like super thrilled about your life path. You get the impression that it's mostly because like you and he were used to be very very close when you were young, even with the age gap. Um, and when you left to go in this, to go stay at the High Temple and all that kind of stuff, he misses you a lot, and so that comes across as like a little bit of a resentment. is sort of what you
Mhm.
have been able to gather over the years, but you think he does genuinely really care about you.
Yeah. So just light pleasantries like that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, you kind of, you're sitting around chatting as, as dinner is being finished. People are milling around. Abdal kind of says, "How are things up at the temple, Sahir? How are things going for you? I heard that the high priestess left this
Uh,
morning."
they are good. I have been selected as interim head priest. Anaya
Oh,
believes that
wow.
Anaya believes that I am the man for the job, and apparently so does Tamazid. God himself came to bless me today at the gates.
Oh,
Were none of you there?
I unfortunately had to, we had a minor emergency with the girls. They're fine, but
Ah,
there was a bit of a kerfuffle this morning. And as he's trying to tell you about like how he's two daughters and a son, they're
mm.
all under the age of 12. As he's trying to explain this to you, your mother overhears what you just said and like pushes past everybody. He's like, "Oh, my son, blessed by Tammuz himself." And she like starts doing like a prayer in like the middle of the fucking threshold between the common room and the kitchen, and like grabs you by the face and is like, "I'm so proud of you. It's such a good job."
Mother, it is all because of you.
Oh,
You are who brought me into this world. You taught me Tamazid's prayers. You are the one who encouraged me to go to the temple.
Eyes flatter this one. She kind of keeps going. It's a wonder you don't have a wife yet. She kind of gets back to the kitchen.
Yeah, I think Shahir's like, oh.
For Bareem, your older brother, he's 2 years older than you. Kind of, he's the one who is also unmarried. Kind of saddles up and is like, "Yeah, no, just kind of fist pumps you in solidarity." So yeah, she won't get off my ass about it either.
I achieve one of the highest ranks in the city, and she can talk about still my love life. Although I think if she knew the details, she would faint.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Do you remember when do you remember when she started trying to ask Abdal about when he was going to give her grandchildren, and he doesn't like continue the sentence, but you remember well because it's like an argument that your mother and your older brother got into because he was like, "Do you want to know about my sex life? Because I will tell you the positions." And and his wife was like, "Abdal, you can't fucking stop it." And your mother was like, "This is, oh my god, why would you disrespect your mother like this?" It was a whole fucking whole big deal.
I think Sahir appreciates this kind of grounding.
Yeah.
I think this is what he was looking for on this day. So yeah.
Fantastic. As part of this as well, your younger sister Samiha comes in. She recently got married, like over the past like year, and she's helping with everything too. She like worships the ground you walk on, and she always has since you were little kids. And everybody's kind of milling around doing their thing. I would say that Khatun, your oldest sister, is really the one who's like who is actively resentful of the position you're in because it left her with a lot of work that she had to do. And so she's always like, she doesn't say a lot about it because she knows that it's not worth the fucking trouble to argue with you about it, but she's definitely the one who's like, I'm about this. This is not something I'm super thrilled about. Everyone else in the family, though, is like, hell yeah, my guy, get it.
Yeah, I think my gut feeling is that Sahir has an easy charisma that makes a lot of people get along with him very well.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that his sister doesn't get along with him just like slides off of him, like, or is resentful to him at all, slides off of him like water off a dog's back. And so he just kind of like sitting his legs up on some chair and is like idly chatting to her while she's like really busy in the kitchen, could really use a hand. It's like, he's just like basking in like, isn't this just so nice and relaxing?
Yeah.
being back with family.
God damn it. And I love that. That's such a good, fucking amazing image. And for what it's worth, Khatun is very cordial to you and is not like actively mean, but she is always has a little bit of a tude toward you. Dinner is eventually served. It's a hearty duck stew with some spiced beets and some beer bread.
Rip duck.
Well, you know.
Yeah, you got him.
Yeah, smart the duck. That's what they're there for. That and eggs. And they all gather into the common room and start to eat. And it's just a nice change of pace. And there's one moment where your younger sister and her husband are kind of chatting with each other like under their breath, and there's like this kind of tone shift over in their little corner of the common room as they're talking about something, and eventually she stands up. He helps her to her feet. She says, everyone, Masum and I have a small announcement that we'd like to make.
So here nudges his mom and that
he's like immediately like like hands on her and your dad is like, honey, calm down. It might not be just and Samantha says, we are pregnant. And she's glowing. Both of them are glowing. Your mother screams.
I think Sahir just like falls over out of his chair in pretend shock at the scream. I think. Like, oh my god! And joins in with the family. Like, this is wonderful news. This is wonderful news.
Everyone kind of mills around for a minute and congratulates your little sister, and it's just, this is fantastic. What could be better than this? And then an otherworldly screech rends the air. Everyone freezes for a moment. And then concern bordering on panic begins to pervade the family. And based on the shouting you can hear outside, the community of the waterfront beyond. People are, what is that?
Sahir runs to the door and bursts out. What are the ducks doing?
The ducks are freaked the fuck out. They're milling around. They are looking like they're going to take flight and maybe go to the river. Like, they are not, whatever that is not normal sound.
Is it coming from the river, outside the walls, above?
Sounds like it's coming from it's somewhere outside the walls in the delta. The distance you're not 100% sure.
Does it? Is that the direction that Sahir last saw Tamazid going?
It is. And as you are considering that, you start to hear the telltale rumbling footsteps, and a second cry meshes with the first. You recognize it as Tamazid's angry bellow. The sky
Sahir starts
flashes
running
red.
that direction.
You start running, you start going. People are coming out of their houses now, freaking out and like clutching each other. The sky flashes red out in the delta, maybe a quarter mile from the city wall, and after a few moments, the otherworldly scream splits the air again and then goes silent. There's one last cry from Tamazid, and then things go eerily still. The birds in the delta are flying away, and fear, just kind of this cloud of cormorants and songbirds coming out of the delta, crying out, lending their chattering to the fearful sort of squabbling of the people in this waterfront community around you.
I think Sahir's gonna find. I assume that there's like little canoes and like little
Yeah,
boats that are like pulled up. I think he's gonna hop onto any one of those. Like, imagine like a long pole thing, and he's gonna start
yeah,
pulling into the uh, delta
okay,
in the direction of what just happened.
sure, absolutely. Yeah, you head on off. You can hear your mom calling out for you as you go, like, Sahir, where are you going? Come back.
I have to know
Um,
what happened.
she does not like that response, but she also doesn't really have a way to go after you. Um, you head on out into the delta, through one of the sort of smaller gates, one of the ones that is built more for humans because it's not a gate that almost it passes through regularly. Um, and you head out into the delta. Go ahead and give me a survival check. Try to navigate your way to where you think might have occurred.
It's an 11.
An 11. Okay. You search around for a good long while. The problem is that it's dark. By the time you got to your family home, it was already dark, and wandering through the delta at night is not. I mean, these are your stomping grounds. You know them like the back of your hand, but it's still, it's a big place, and it gets a little confusing in the dark.
I think Sahir offers a prayer to Tamazud and is looking for Tamazud
Okay.
at this point. And if there's any sound of like footprints or
Yeah.
shaking, going to be going towards that.
Give me a perception check.
Oh, 9.
Shit, hang on. I tried to do something and it decided to give me a problem on Kenkubot.
As the day goes on, Sahir's rolls go lower and lower.
What? I'm sorry. What did you roll?
I rolled a 9.
A 9. Okay. So what I will say is, with a 9, as you're kind of scanning through the delta, trying to find Tamazid, you don't find him, but you do eventually start. You pause and just listen, and you can hear the birds starting to come back. You can hear the insects starting to chime again. The frogs and all that, and then you feel the tremors. And it's distant enough that you can't like pinpoint where he is, but you can hear his footsteps. He's walking around.
I think there's two feelings that hit Sahir like a 1-2 punch of relief and then immediately huge amounts of religious guilt. How could you question that God could ever be harmed? That's impossible. And Sahir is going to just floating there in the dark, just be like, and realize that he has done the wrong thing, which is that he has abandoned the city, and then chastise himself again, and head back towards the city, all the while just stewing in like, oh, Stupid, 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 stupid. You were trusted.
Oh no. You eventually make it back to the city, beating yourself up aside. What do you do when you get back to the city? There's some people sort of, freaking out. You can see like that there are town guard members who are, trying to coordinate and bolstering up the defenses around the walls just in case, because I don't know what the fuck that was. You can see there's people like asking questions and other people not having any fucking answers.
I think Sahir is going to find. I assume that there's like a main square area.
Yeah.
And he's going to go to there, and the main gathering point where there's a majority of people kind of clamber up and like call over some other guards to help like clear and make clear that there's going to be an announcement, and then gets up there and is basically like, my people, we all know that these are dark times, and there are threats beyond our walls, but even in this time, I should remind you all that walls are but one thing, but it is also the flesh and blood of our city, and our God that protects us. And the Tamazid tonight has defeated an enemy in the Delta, and he's making a guess.
Sure.
He's kind of like, he's going to try to hype it up as like, you see, we are all safe. There was a creature out there, but Tamazid protected us. And mentally, Sahir's like, tomorrow morning, I am sending a guard contingent out there to find the body of whatever thing just died.
For sure. Yeah. People seem to take very well to this. They're like, oh, thank God. It's one of those, like, they what they wanted is reassurance, and what they got is reassurance, and so they're immediately reassured.
Yeah.
Like, they don't question it.
Yeah, and Sahir just, it's, for as long as it takes, he's going to go around to all the major other areas and repeat that. I think
Sure.
I don't know if he remembers to go home specifically.
Okay. That's fine.
Because I think he's so hyper fixated on, like, he just got this huge responsibility and immediately fucked it up. I've got to make it better.
Yeah.
You
got a job to do. You go around for a while and you sort of smooth feathers, make sure everybody's okay, make sure you're spreading this word, everything's fine, don't worry. There are no more horrible sounds in the night, thankfully. You can still hear tremors every now and then, so you know that Tom's still up and walking around, whatever he's doing. People start to calm down. It gets later and later. You pull aside some of the guards. You, of course, as with the position that you're in, the who's who of the guards. And you're able to pull aside some of the more important ones and be like, find out what this was. Like, I want to know, like, as soon as possible.
And like double the night shift, basically.
Yeah. Oh, and they're doing it. That like, fucking wall is that.
Yeah, I imagine when Zahir's like, double the night shift, the guard captain is just like, we've already done that.
Like, it's certainly a good idea. What would be the fucking? It's not your highness or your majesty or anything. I'm trying to think of maybe your grace.
Holiness. Your grace. Your grace holiness. Is a good one.
I think
your grace is better.
Let's do that. Yeah. It's a good idea. Your grace. It's something that I've already begun to implement. So we have it under control.
Good.
You are awoken early the next morning before sunrise.
I feel like Sahir slept very shitty. Sahir was like waking up to like a bird flies by, he's awake.
Yeah. For sure. So you've had like maybe 2 hours of sleep in this whole thing. It's awful. But you wake up to news of God's appearance in the one of the channels in the city. A merchant's daughter spotted him and brought news straight to the High Temple as soon as she saw him, because she knows that people have been looking for him.
Sahir's going down to go see God himself as soon as possible.
Yeah, you head on out there. There is a sort of portion of the channel. Some of the channels are too thin for him to really do anything but like drink out of. But a few of the channels are very, very wide enough for him to to bask in and kind of do his thing. Certainly the ones that are kind of closer to the to where the delta meets the ocean. And there is one particular portion that is particularly wide and deep that also has a sort of dais built onto one side of it. And this is the a ritual sacrifice altar. And when I say ritual sacrifice, I don't mean like human sacrifice, blood and stabbing people or whatever. I mean that every year, for 1 month during the summer, Tamazid effectively hibernates. Like he goes into a rejuvenation phase. And before that, he needs to eat. He needs to store up, food. Robin Sherbatsky, get down. No, ma'am. Go on, please. I've had to warn my other parties that I'm about to start writing D&D for about Robin.
Just like FYI, if I ever say Robin Sherpatsky, it's my cat,
Yeah.
and she's being a terror.
Yeah. This is there is a like a holy day every year right before the height of summer, right before Tamazid goes into hibernation, where all of the people in town sort of gather up all of the extra food they have in abundance that they're not going to need for the next month or so, and bring it to that dais. And you and Nanaya have been sharing the duty over the past several years of like physically shoveling, or helping at least, symbolically, to shovel all of that food into Tamazid's gigantic gaping maw.
Yeah.
And so you head out into that area because that's where this little girl said that she saw him, and sure enough, here he is. You find him exactly where she said he would be. The water's current is stained a light gold as the flock of birds in his back busy themselves with cleaning out his wounds. He doesn't look bothered by the gashes in his rocky hide, and where the ebbing drops of his gilded blood touch the river, duckweed blooms in its wake. He looks okay. And later on,
Okay.
Troll discovers the bodies of a pretty large group of demons, all of them handily slain.
I think. Oh, sorry. What was that?
I was gonna say something. You go ahead first. Yours is more.
I think Sahir orders the bodies to be burned.
Okay. You order the bodies to be burned, and they burn, but everyone can smell it to the whole city. It's awful. It's sulfurous. The fire isn't the right color. It's like, fire's red, but this is like blood red. It's unnerving to the guards that are participating in this. It smells. And when the bodies are gone, they don't like dissolve into ash and charcoal. It's like tar.
Okay.
But God slew them because God is truly great. Right?
Yeah. God is great. God is great.
You still remember the first day of the Dragonborn. You awoke before dawn again to screams echoing throughout the city, quick bursts of shock followed by bellows carrying on. At first, you assumed, in your half-asleep stupor, that you were hearing lingering revelry following last night's winter solstice. But by the time the sun rose, you knew that was not the case. The refugee population saw the greatest percentage of change, but many Alwafran natives also woke up that morning with a face they did not recognize in the mirror. Is there anything... I have more description here of this, but before I go on with that, is there anything that you think Sahir would do, given the fact that so many fucking people are just dragons now, just randomly, this woke up dragons?
I think Sahir urges like calm and unity, and tries to figure it out, and basically prays for answers about what happened, but I don't think he gets any.
Yeah, not really.
Yeah, he spends a lot of time like, what should I do? What should I do? But is also like, if you have been, hmm, I don't know if he would think that it is a disease that has struck the city.
Sure.
Um,
I mean, what I will say is that kind of milling around and examining some of these people with your own eyes, they don't seem like they're ill. They don't seem like they're addled in any kind of way. They don't seem different. Like you talk to some of these people and they're like merchants that you have known all your life, and it's by all accounts it's that same fucking person. It's just they look like a dragon now for some reason.
I feel
And
like Sahir is just bewildered by this, like fundamentally bewildered. I don't know if he's ever seen any kind of magic like this or
yeah,
anything on this scale either.
yeah, I don't think he
And I
has
think
either. I
he,
think this
I
is
think this is where he's like, oh, I need help. I need answers.
um
Your manager goes on vacation. Half the office turns into Dragonborn.
yeah, pretty much. But the worst part is what you discover when the manager comes back. um,
Mhm.
not to spoil anything for anybody who might be listening to this. Um, you wrote this, not me. Um, it does take you some time and a lot of work to sort of make a decision about what the fuck's happened, start trying to calm people down, start trying to, smooth feathers again. And this is all made harder by the fact that you soon discover that you have been personally affected by this turn of events. Barim finds you in the middle of an emergency sermon, first day that this happens, and practically drags you back home. Won't explain anything, like, can't even fucking speak. He's just like, I just have to show you. And you arrive to discover a dragonborn with red bronze scales standing in your family home with a draconic child sparkling sapphire clinging to its legs. And you don't recognize them immediately, because how could you? But when they speak, you recognize them as your brother Abdal and your oldest niece, 12-year-old Nezra.
I really think that this is a time when Sahir is like expected to have answers, and I think this
Huh.
is probably like the first time in his life that he really has like no easy answers, and he's just totally out of his element. And I think I, I I don't understand. Did you? Uh, are you okay?
I feel fine. Nezra feels fine. We were a little startled when we woke up, and certainly Rosala has had to take some time. She's out right now with mom, and you know, with Heian and Tasa, his other two children.
I must ask. This is the first. There are many others in the city. Were
Sorry to
you
hear.
near the smoke fires when the the bodies of the demons were
No,
burned?
no. Why? No. Why would I have been? And even
I
if I had
I
been,
am
why
trying
would
to
Nezra have been there?
I I don't know. I am trying to figure out what happened.
I know. I'm sorry.
If I
I'm
can
not trying to.
if I
I'm
can
not.
restore you to I am sorry.
I kind of looks down at himself. I don't know that there's something to apologize for. This
How can you
may
say
ver-
that?
because this may very well be a blessing in disguise. Certainly, it's monstrous. He kind of like holds out his hand and turns it over a couple of times to look at his claws. But maybe I don't know. He's like his daughter is kind of often off to the side now with Samiha and Barim, and they're kind of you're having this conversation with their brother out of earshot from her, so as not to freak her out.
I think like
I
Sahir
have to.
takes like a step closer and it's like you would look like the crocodiles that lurk in the delta. That
I know exactly what I look like. Okay, you think I don't know? My entire face feels different. Do you know how hard it is to say an S? And like, sure enough, it is very difficult for him to form that syllable with this mouth.
I do not understand.
I don't either.
And then I will find you answers. I will fix this.
kind of looks like he wants to say something, but thinks better of it. It's gonna be okay. Sahir, look at me. Hey, it's gonna be okay.
A quarter of the city's population. A quarter?
I say maybe a quarter to a
Tenth?
third, maybe. Like it's right. I'd say right now it's a little bit. You don't know
Okay.
fully. Like there's
Then
a
I
count
think it's
that's
here's
coming yet.
guesstimate a quarter. It's like
Sure.
a quarter of the city has changed overnight. What if whatever this is continues to change people?
Then
What
we
if
will
they
all be like this.
And what if it doesn't stop where you are? What if you continue to shift and transform until our entire city is populated by crocodiles or monstrosities with 6 arms?
It will be a city of monsters, I suppose. I don't like it any more than you do.
I will not let this city become a city of monsters. Whatever has happened here, I will protect all the people here as I swore to them, as I promised them.
I'm trying to say, Sahir, that I see what you're doing. I think it's good work. But I see the stress that you're putting yourself under, and I want to be able to help you when I can.
How can you be so calm?
I have to be calm. You think I'm calm? He like leans in close to you. You think I'm fucking calm about this? My daughter. He just points at her. He doesn't finish the sentence because he can't like break himself through. He like chokes up. I am trying to be for you and for my daughter and for the rest of the family exactly what you're trying to be for the city. Okay?
Okay.
Don't leave me out of this. Let me help you. I don't know how I can fucking help you. I'm a duck herd.
Well, you're more than a duck herd now.
Suppose so. He like... I had to look something up really fast. Because it's a spur of the moment decision that I'm making it for role-playing purposes. But I need to remind myself of mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
He's furiously scrolling.
Scroll.
Bye.
Legacy content. Scroll.
Yeah. Oh, damn it. There's like a moment of silence between the two of you. And he puts his hands on his hips and he takes a step back from you, trying to just cool things off. And he like takes a deep breath and he exhales, not like a ton, like he's not like blowing air out or anything, but he just kind of, an exhale. And as he does, sparks fly from his mouth and he startles.
I think Sahir jumps back as well. Did you just...
I don't know what I just did.
I have so many more problems I need to attend to. If people can make fire out of their mouths, I have to warn the city guard that we have to be ready for fires to break out as people discover that by accident. Oh my god.
You definitely have your work cut out for you for the next few weeks as you're trying to do damage control. And sure enough, yep, just like you thought, there's definitely some moments where it's like, okay, the green ones can spew gases of fire or, of poison, and the red ones can make fire. And you're sort of slowly learning this, and everyone's like, okay, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. Trying to, introduce new laws and assistance and set up programs to help people who don't like what's happened, who do like what's happened, dealing with the criminals in the city who now I'm sure that there are a few criminals that became Dragonborn.
Yep. And that's the thing is like,
or some people who are now like, well, fuck it, now I've got this power, I might as well use it.
yeah. Well, and there are some members of the guard that are like that, and they're like, well, hell, if I can breathe fucking acid, then I dare some fucking demons to try to come by next time. Because I'll spit on them, I guess. And their human friends are like, what the fuck, my dude? You can't, come on. He's like, oh, if I can spit acid, then why not spit acid for a good purpose? That kind of mentality sort of starts to, not like pervade, but people start murmuring about it a little bit. because it becomes very evident very quickly that these dragon people are very powerful. They have some skills and abilities that they did not have as humans. They're hardier, they're in some ways stronger. They have this breath ability like an actual fucking dragon.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It's unnatural.
I think Sahir kind of like comes around to the idea of, okay, maybe we can use this, and it is a blessing from Tamazet. This is a blessing from Tamazet. I think that's the solution he goes with and starts explaining to everyone that it's a blessing from Tamazet, and that these reptilian dragonborn will be able to help protect the city. And that's kind of what he's going with.
You start going around and telling people that, and people are like, they're just so fucking desperate for any kind of answers that a lot of them glom on. The Dragonborn seem open to it, but also, like, there's something you can't quite put your finger on about their reactions, where they're like, well, okay, is kind of their reaction, whereas all the humans are like, that's right, it is a blessing from Tamazet.
I think that gets in the back of Sahir's head. I think there's many nights that he's like in the temple, like just fidgeting with like a random thing, just like staring off, and like sitting late at the banquet table, just thinking like, what is going on here? Even beyond, even after he's kind of like made his public proclamations, and really hoping that Nanaya comes back.
It's a couple more weeks, between when the Dragonborn thing happens and when Nanaya returns, and in between that time, this is all happening like a fucking whirlwind. There is another demon attack, and this one, there happens to be several Dragonborn in the vicinity when it happens, and they rush out and they go and help, and with their help, aiding Hamazid, they're able to dispatch all of the demons without basically a scratch on any of them, including God. And so that kind of helps to get people to be like, okay, all right, maybe this is a good thing. Maybe this is fine.
While this is going on, I assume that Al Wafra has like outposts and scouts further beyond.
Yeah.
How are we doing in the war? How's it looking? Is it looking like there's demons coming? Because this is the second demon attack in a short span.
Yeah.
How are the scout reports?
The scout reports that you're getting are after that attack that has happened, they're looking okay. They don't see anything major coming toward Al Wafra. There's certainly, things going on. There is another major settlement, although not a permanent one, up, way up the road, sort of where the Ivory Plains meet the Red Wilds and the Feral Grassland, things like that. And it seems like, since that's sort of a major hub of activity, there's a lot of stuff going on out there, and that seems to be drawing a lot of attention away from Al Wafra. So your posts, you get some news back, and they're like, we don't really see anything else coming.
Okay,
we'll keep you posted. No pun intended. But one thing I would say that you would learn from those outposts is that this issue is not exclusive to Al Wafra.
Ooh, I think Sahir does not share that publicly.
Sure.
When he gets that, he's like, "Oh no, what is going on? That's not a blessing from Tamazid." He tried. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go. So you go.
I think he tries. I think he tries to suppress that information as best he can, but I know it's gonna get. I think it gets out. I assume
it does eventually get out. Because no sooner than you had managed to sort of reinstate a sense of like tranquility and acceptance throughout the city, then another revelation rocks it to its core. Please try to understand, Nanaya says. her words sweet and placating, as if she's speaking to a forlorn child rather than her lover. She had left Awafra, a beautiful human woman, the love of your life, and returned unrecognizable. Dark green scales with black flecks where her freckles used to be, black green frills to replace her umber curls, and slitted pupils in the center of her smoky quartz eyes. This is still a blessing, Sahir, even if it was not bestowed upon us by Tamzid, as you thought.
But what you have done is betray Tamazed. He has protected our city since the dawn of time, since its founding.
I have not betrayed Tamzid.
You have asked a different god for assistance.
And can there be no room for both realities to be true at once?
What? That Tamazid is not as important as this dragon god that you have found yourself?
Please try to understand.
I am. I am trying to understand. I am trying to understand how you could, in a month, in the span of a month, discover a new thing and just turn your back on everything and everyone you have known.
Come on. Come now, Sahir. You think this has been a month in the making? You think that this would change in a month? You're right, it didn't change in a month. It's been years, Sahir.
What? What?
I have been trying to find a way to tell you in a way that wouldn't upset you.
Oh, so you just didn't tell me at all.
I need you to understand that I do still respect Tamzid. It's worth noting, and this is a sort of unspoken thing, but it's very poignant, and it's something that Sahir would notice. This is the first time you have ever really heard her refer to Tamzid as Tamzid. She's always referred to him as God.
Mm-hmm.
My convictions began to waver before I even met you. I tried many, many, many times to reaffirm my convictions, to surround myself with other people who were more faithful than I, yourself included. And when that didn't work, and when the city came under attack, even with his grace to protect us, which I am, make no mistake, still incredibly grateful for, I realized that it was no longer that I had begun to place more of my faith in Tiamat than in Tamzid. And I began searching for a replacement for my role. God or no, Tamzid is still of major importance to this delta, to this city. Al-Wafra needs him, and he needs the priesthood to sustain him.
And I am to be.
Sahir, you have been fulfilling the role to a greater degree than I have for years. You just don't know. Do you think it escaped my notice that Tamzid refuses to acknowledge my presence, but he acknowledges yours? This role has been yours.
Well, then what will you do?
Well, there are many people here, as you know, who also have found faith and solace in, if not the Mad Queen, then in, she wouldn't call her the Mad Queen, she would call her Tiamat.
Yeah.
If not in Tiamat, then in Bahamut or Io. Part of what I was learning at the summit was more about them, so that I could be an effective leader to them when I returned. This doesn't have to be something that breaks the city apart, Sahir. This can be something that makes us stronger.
This city is Tamozet's. It was built by his faithful, and it flourishes under his guidance.
And it will continue to do so. I'm not trying to take that away from him. But the Triad have been around also since the beginning of time, perhaps even before.
Then why have they not come here before?
Their role is different.
Their role is different.
They are
Their
not
role is different.
physical beings in the same way that Tamuzid is.
I can look and see God with my own eyes, and now you ask me to believe in some voice that spoke to you in your head. Do you know what that sounds like to me? It sounds like the whisperings of demons. We have heard of it. I know you have read the same reports as I
I
have.
have read the same reports that you have. I'm not fucking crazy. Here, I know what I'm doing. I have never felt so fulfilled. And to see the good that this has already done on my way through back home has been incredible. And all I want to do is bring some of that, a piece of that here, to make sure for certain that the city survives.
In that we are agreed then.
Good. Kind of, as she's been saying this, she's kind of has been getting closer to you, and it looks like she's trying to maintain the same kind of intimacy that she had with you previously.
I think Sahir is like genuinely very upset at this point,
Sure.
but I think he's also working through recognizing that the Dragonborn have been essential to the protection of the city,
Mm-hmm.
and I think at this point he's trying to gather up the pieces of what he knows
Uh-huh.
and keep them there. And so I think he goes, so will you need a temple then in the city?
Eventually, but that's not my immediate concern. I won't presume to offer practices or sermons here, because this is not the place for it. And I don't think that my flock would accept it anyway. But eventually, once the war is over, we can look at perhaps making a space for the Triad as well. For now, I will practice wherever I can.
And relinquish the priesthood to me.
As far as I'm concerned, it's already done.
I still need
Already.
your guidance, though.
You'll still have it. And it comes up and, like, strokes your hair with her
She's way
claws.
taller than she was, right?
She's a little taller than she was, yeah. I'd say,
Okay.
like, it's definitely different now. I will still be here to guide.
I
If not
think
in matters of faith, then in matters of practicality.
Sahir was really young when he joined the priesthood and when he began a romantic relationship with Anaya. And I think at this point he has had such a stressful month that he just wants to go back
Sure.
to how it was. And so I think
Uh-huh.
he's just gonna go with like trying to rekindle and
Uh-huh.
discover whatever dragonborns are like.
Yeah, I think that's totally reasonable. Yeah. I assume I know the answer to this question, but just for, posterity's sake, we're gonna be doing a sort of time skip here for the next few months passing. Do you think that sustains? And if not, then for how long?
I think I think it does sustain. Um, I think Sahir is. I mean, Sahir's a priest of a fertility god.
Yeah, that's
uh,
fair.
participates in a lot of activities. But I think as the months kind of go by, um, I imagine that there are more and more kind of like little spats between him and Anaya, where it's like, like maybe some Dragonborn like clearly disrespected Tamazid
Yeah.
at some point, and he like goes to her and is like, like this is not acceptable. Like if we are living in this city together, then then we should respect each other's people, and like
Sure.
you need to. And I think it starts. He's like slowly over the course of the couple of months. I imagine that their relationship starts to kind of like slide from we will figure this city out together to you need to figure your people out, and
Yeah.
having more arguments.
Sure.
But I think that tied into that, they are still having their relations,
Sure.
and that it sometimes is not necessarily pure love that is being expressed in the bedroom.
Sure. Yeah.
So
That
it is
makes
just the unhealthy relationship of like is definitely coming out more and more, because I think at this point I feel like it was always a little bit unhealthy, and all the like cracks that were there have become massively exacerbated by
Yeah.
Sahir being granted this like authority, and also suddenly having like this massive change.
It's worth mentioning that throughout all of this stuff that's going on, in every now and then you'll talk to Barim, your he's your brother who's closest in age to you, um, and you start to realize that Barim has always been very much like very interested in your relationship with Nanaya. Um, and for a while you assumed it's because Barim is a little bit of a player. That's part of the reason he hasn't gotten married yet. You start to come to realize that his interest in Nanaya isn't a lustful one. It is a I don't trust her and I'm worried about my brother perspective. And so like the more that this crack starts to form between Sahir and Nanaya, the more Barim is not twisting the knife, but like, yeah, letting you vent and, subtly pointing a thing out here and there and being like, have you thought about this? Or I've noticed this thing, and
I think Sahir's under way too much stress at this point, and
sure.
like that those additional like little knife jabs are kind of like, when someone's in a bad relationship,
Yeah.
they're like, hey, that might be a bad relationship for you, and they're like,
Uh-huh.
how dare you, and they go back.
Yeah,
They go
for
back
sure.
harder. I imagine that's basically kind of what happens, where Sahir's like, it is she is exactly the same woman that she has always been, which is kind of like,
Okay.
yeah, that's my point.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
He's
and,
like,
and it's
okay.
and it's kind of like, I think that Zero pushes back on it as like it is also incredibly important for the city to see that we can live together.
I hear what you're saying. Barim backs off, but you know him well enough to know he hasn't actually backed off. He's just like letting you breathe, and you haven't convinced him of anything.
Yeah, and
And somehow that's more infuriating.
I imagine he brings it up again later on, and I think Sahir is just he was having he had the best day of his life when she left, and it feels like, I think, not like he's had the worst day of his life, but just like he needs a break.
Yeah.
Like it feels like he is constantly under pressure, and all of the old things that he would turn to find comfort and relax are now also sources of stress.
Unfortunately for Sahir, we will continue with his backstory now that you have written.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. The next few months are a blur of damage control. Despite Narayinra, as she now calls herself, despite she still allows you to call her Nanaya,
Yeah,
but
so Sahir keeps
other
calling
people.
her. Nanaya.
And I will also keep calling her Nanaya, mostly just because her Dragonborn name is hard to pronounce, and I don't
Yeah,
want to.
it's long.
Despite her assurances to the contrary, every step you took toward ensuring peace and fellowship among God's followers and the followers of the Triad was countered, often by Nanaya herself. With half of the city rallied behind her, maybe not half, a third, a schism threatened to tear Al-Wafra apart, and eventually it did. Nanaya initially encouraged the Dragonborn to stand with God in the city's defense, but all hell broke loose when one day a group of Dragonborn tried to not harm him, but actively prevent God from defending his territory. Swaths of farmland throughout the Delta were destroyed in this altercation, and rioting broke out just hours later as the news swept through the city's enraged population like a wildfire. The woman you love seemed to always be around the corner, stoking the flames. You lost count of how many times you pleaded with her to help you find common ground between your two flocks. Your words fell on deaf ears every fucking time. In the summer, the mud on God's back began to crack and dry, and the vegetation began to wither. The time for his annual renewal had come. What should have been a time of revelry and community was dulled by the shadow lingering in the air, and when you arrived at the banks of the river to perform the annual sacrifice, the offerings to God were scarcer than you had ever seen. After all, half of your flock had flown the coop, and the other half that remained had largely become so destitute that they had very little overabundance that they could offer to fill God's belly with without damning themselves for the duration of the harsh summer in the process. God, ever gracious, accepted what little was offered without complaint, and as you watched him sink into the river, you couldn't help but wonder whether the Dragonborn would be able to defend Al-Wafra by themselves for the next month in his absence. 2.5 weeks later, something in the city seemed to shift, and all of the Dragonborn looked like they were preparing to leave with no explanation. How do you confront Nanaya?
Let's go back to where we started this in the bedroom.
Sure.
I think Sahir I think comes back to the temple and is basically like, oh, like Nanaya, and asks him, like, where's Nanaya? And they're like, oh, Nanaya's up in your room, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so he like storms in and it's like,
yeah, it's your room now. Fine, it
what
used to be her room, now it's yours.
yeah. And it's like, what are you doing? At every turn.
Sahir.
At every turn, Nanaya.
Sahir.
We are supposed to be keeping this city together, but I am not sure that I am not the only one who is doing that. So what are you doing?
I am trying to keep the city alive.
Trying to keep the city alive? Then why did you tell your followers to keep their offerings back from Tammuzid? Why did your people stop the farmers who were going to bring stuff from bringing it, delaying them until Tammuzid left the dais?
Sahir, do you really think that I am capable of that level of treachery? I didn't tell any of my followers not to bring Tammuzid any offerings. They decided of their own accord because they do not believe him to be their god. Why would they make a sacrifice to a god
leader?
they don't believe in?
Because Tammuzid protects them, whether they believe he is a god or not.
I have
Their
more
blasphemy
pressing...
matters not for the fact that they
Blasphemy.
can see him defeat the demons that come. They have fought alongside him, and now they turn their back on him. I do not understand your people and their obsession with the intangible.
My people. They are your people too.
Are
You
they?
look at me and see me as something, as not your lover. I may be different, but I'm still the same person that I was before. Underneath the scales, I am still me. Or do you see me as
yourself,
something else?
You were the one who told me that even on the day that you plucked me from the muddy river, surrounded by ducks, and inducted me into the priesthood, even on that day, you were doubting. So I actually question. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I am wrong. You have. I don't know when the last time you told me the truth was, and I don't know if you ever have. So if you ask me why I believe that you could be treacherous at all, I must not look to the faith, but what I have seen before me, which is the collapsing of this city at the hands of the people who you claim and promise me that you would rule.
She's like, throughout your rant, she sort of turned around and like you just see her back and her tail kind of swishing, and you can see her claws like gripping into like the end of the bed, this nice wood that's now being like scratched up by this clenching that she's doing. And as soon as you finish what you're saying, she cuts you off and says, Sahir, the city isn't going to be destroyed by its people. It's going to be destroyed by something much worse. I have had a vision. A great and terrible vision. You can see she's crying as she turns around to look at you. I've seen the city burning. I've seen it overrun.
I have seen it too in my dreams. I dream of it every night that your people grow further apart from the people of Al-Wafra.
I'm not speaking metaphorically. I'm speaking in prophecy. Sahir. 2 days. 2 days.
2 days. Our scouts would have given warning.
Not if they were dead. What is coming is a greater evil than we have ever faced. It's not something that we can withstand. It's not something that we should have to withstand. We have to leave.
What?
We have to leave, Sahir. I know that's not what you want to hear. We have to leave. If
It's
we
not
don't,
what I want
we
to
will
hear. You are making it sound like what I want to hear is what matters. What is going to protect the people is what is going to matter. We have walls here, towers, gates.
It's not going to matter. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
And you're saying
It's
the people
not
will
going
be
to matter.
safer on the road.
I'm
What
saying
if I
it's
told
safe.
you I had dreamed of blood-stained roads?
I'm saying it's going to be
Slaughtered
safe.
caravans on the road. Oh
You're not
no.
listening. You're not listening to me. So here you have to convince them to leave. I can't do it. I have talked to my flock. They're packing up, they're going.
What?
But I can't tell them. I can't tell the followers of Tamuzid to leave. It has to come from you.
We
They won't
cannot
listen
abandon Tamuzid. Or our walls, or our city. This is our home.
This isn't a sinking ship. We're not a captain.
No, it is our home. It is not a ship, I agree.
Sahir,
If your people stay, we will man the walls and we will weather this storm.
if my people stay, we will all die. I have seen it.
If your people leave, we will all die. Have you any idea how many people we would have to move on a caravan? Your people are faster, stronger, they have more endurance. Your dragonborn will leave my people in the dust. They will walk faster, longer.
That is not.
And
That's
then
not the
my
point of
people will
community,
become the
and you know
bait.
it. That is not the point of community, and you know it. If you travel with us, we can protect you. If you stay back here, we cannot do anything. Let me protect you, Sahir.
Why do you not listen to me? I do not think that you have ever listened to me.
Don't be ridiculous. I listen to you every day. Are you going to pack up your things or not?
No.
We have to get moving.
No. I have seen the refugees in the city for the past years. I know that there is no city that could possibly feed our people. There is one place that can provide the food, the water, and the shelter for our people, and it is this. This is our haven. And if your gods will not protect it, I do not think they are good gods at all.
It is not their place. I have tried to explain to you.
I don't understand why you would not protect it.
I would protect it if I thought that there was any chance of it surviving. She sighs deeply. She looks genuinely, really upset about this. She takes a deep breath, sighs, kind of takes a moment to compose herself. I wish that there was anything that I could say to convince you to come with me. But I know you well enough to know that my warning is falling on deaf ears.
You are wandering into the desert, asking me to throw an entire city's worth of people into a caravan of death.
I am asking you to take a chance at survival instead of an absolute certainty of death. If you will not come with me, then I will pray for your safety, and I will pray that I'm wrong. She steps up to you, reaches out a clawed hand to stroke your face.
He pushes it away.
She looks very hurt at that, but also not really surprised. Sighs again, says, "Take care, my love. Until we meet again."
I thought that we could share this city. That is what you promised me.
That's what I wanted to.
And now I don't think we share anything. Know that if you leave, what becomes of all Walfra is on your hands.
If I leave, I will do so knowing that I warned you. That is
Your
the last
righteousness does not make you right.
She stares at you for a long moment, like she's trying to drink in your face, even though it's twisted with rage. And then she turns and leaves. True to her word, Al-Wafra comes under siege, not 2 days later. I don't know how loud this is going to be. Just so I tried to turn it down. It may be too loud. Let me adjust if it is too loud.
Okay.
No, it's okay.
That's not that loud.
Let me put on one more thing here. Okay. Chill. demonic forces begin an all-out assault on the city. Turn this one down a little bit.
I was gonna say that's a little bit louder.
I'm trying to do the mix. I'm trying to DJ and do my
DJ.
Maybe that'll work. We'll see. We'll try it. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Demonic forces begin an all-out assault on the city, led by a creature so colossal and terrible that it could only be one of the fabled demon princes.
Oh boy.
Yeah. This is what it looks like. I'm very sorry, people listening to this. Maybe I'll have Ray link an image. Link in the chat.
God! What the
It's not
fuck is
good.
that?
I don't know, but I found it. It's great.
That's
Isn't it
fucking
awful?
horrifying. I hate and love it.
Right? It's great.
Bro, you gotta send me the artist of that later. Holy
I will.
shit.
Hang on,
Audience, I am so sorry.
Okay, you'll have a link to the art station. This artwork is Demon of Consumption Goravash by Leon Jaume on ArtStation. And it's fucking great. Though you initially rallied those who remained to hold the line, it became clear within mere moments that they had no chance without the Dragonborn to bolster their forces. The High Temple does little to muffle the sound of the demon's otherworldly cries as they storm the city. You know it's only a matter of time before they sniff everyone out, though if you had to guess, the smoke from the fires is masking your scent, at least for now. You've gathered all those that remain, all of those that are still alive, in the nave of the High Temple, huddled together in prayer behind the barricaded doors, with fragments of the ceiling fresco occasionally falling to crash against a tile or an unlucky body. Your family is here, all of them, Abdal included. Ironically, his wife left with Nanaya and took their children with her, but your brother stayed behind. He's the only Dragonborn left, and he's crouched beside you, clawed hands clasped in a trembling prayer to the god that he had forsaken. Sahir, you feel someone take your hand, and you see your little sister Samiha looking up at you where she kneels. Her husband, Masum, is dead, and their baby is due in a few weeks' time. An explosion rocks the temple to its foundations, and all the people around you scream, "Sahir! Guide us, what do we do?"
I think Sahir raises his voice in prayer and just continues praying to Tamazid, and I think this is the point at which Sahir's like faith quavers.
Sure.
Because Tamazid has not protected the city to this point, and this is, I think, as he sees at the end, and he looks at it, and I imagine there's a couple thousand people. Like, this is a really big temple, I assume. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So everyone's packed into here.
Yeah.
And I think he begins trying to lead to prayer, and I think he changes the prayer from Tamazid, please protect us, to will anything please carry us from harm? Will anything in this world, from far beyond or far above, far below, in deep waters, in deep earth, on the winds and the sun and the moon and the night, will anything answer our prayer? May you please. And just like gathers the whole crowd as Sahir's praying for his life. He's praying for his family's life. He's praying for every single person he loves life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he encourages the people to do the same. Yeah.
They do. They cry out. Most of them cry out to Thomasid. Because he's the only god that they ever know. And they have no reason to cry for anything else. But a few of them take up your same prayer. Do anything that will listen.
Yeah, and I think also at this point, Sahir's if I remember correctly, Sahir's religion has like other gods in its like in the periphery as well, right?
Yeah, kind of. And it's one of those things where like there are like Al-Wafra. It's very this is a situation where like there are a lot of different gods, but it's like very location based, right? So like Talmud is effectively the religion in Al-Wafra. There are other gods, you know, other more minor gods that sometimes come in and out, but like Tammuzid's the big cheese around
Yeah.
here.
I,
And other gods tend to come from like other areas or like, you know, foreigners who moved in and are like, oh, have you heard of this god that's out in the desert? And you're like, we don't have a desert here, but sure, tell us.
yeah, so I think
Yeah.
at this point, Sahir is like praying to every god he's ever heard of, and the weird, obscure ones in their religion, like, the coyote, or like or the far distant gods and
Mm.
rumors of the shadowed creatures at the edges of stories that he heard as a child and in taverns, just anything and everything. I think this is where his desperation breaks him.
You hear birds. There are a lot of birds as something closes in on the High Temple. Um, an entire murmuration of something, everything. All of the fucking water birds that have called this city their home for so long. You hear them go up in one crescendo of a murmuration. And as you lead this prayer for salvation to anything that will listen, you hear a heart-achingly familiar tremor. And then another. And another. And then you hear him bellowing his war cry from the river where he is roused. God is risen, a week early from his slumber. All around you, the city starts to thrum with energy. Soon, God's bellows mingle with the terrible, otherworldly wails. I'm DJing my fucking pants off here.
It's so super cool.
Good, I'm glad. The earth shakes below their tightened feet as God fights the demon prince. The thrumming intensifies. You can hear both of them screaming, screaming, screaming. The feeling of energy is so overwhelming that everyone in the temple, all at once, instinctively raises their hands to clutch their ears. Outside of the temple, God wails, and you shut your eyes and the wind whips around your face. Sand cutting at your cheeks and stinging your eyes. You are starving. You shield your face and peer through the sandstorm to see that you are surrounded by the desiccated corpses of 24 water buffalo. All the plants in a 20-foot radius around you are dead. The only thing that still appears to be alive is a goose. You are starving. You're still wearing your priestly robes, but your arm looks different. Rocky, cracked, dry. You are fucking starving!
I think
You look up, and you see a great, dark orb of storm descending toward you.
I have something that
Yeah,
I feel like Sahir experiences every time this happens,
sure.
which is I think Sahir like wakes up and immediately feels like he has to vomit.
Okay.
But I feel
Yeah.
like when he vomits, it's not like bile or anything. It's like the thickest, most viscous, most sludgy gray mud. And it is just the worst experience to just like vomit up like straight up like 5 pounds of mud. Just like slow and excruciating of just like
Oh, God.
squeezing, like when you squeeze like really solid paint out of
Yeah,
a tube, the way it just kind of like
yeah.
squeezes out, just like basically that experience
I
of
would,
just
if
like
we were in person, I would make you the sound effect.
yeah. And so I think he's doing that as, and like like the the when you're vomiting, it's like you want nothing, you want to die basically.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, fuck.
And I think as he's waking up and taking in his surroundings, like it's like blurry and out of focus, and he's like vomiting and he's looking around at all this desiccation around him, and eventually, as he finally finishes vomiting up all this, he just like rolls over onto his back, exhausted. That's when he sees this storm, the storm descending towards him.
It's so fucking close now too. It's so
here
close.
It seems that he has died, and this is hell.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And all you can hear are above the sound of the wind. Even are familiar screams. The wind whips around your face, but the sand is only just starting to pick up. Somewhere behind you, a loon howls at you frantically. Your hands are outstretched, as if attached to puppet strings. A group of people are running away from you. A trail of energy tethers them to your palms, and as you inhale, that energy drains from them, and they fall over into the sand, desiccated. You vomit. 5 pounds of silt.
Sorry, I inserted the scene somewhere.
No, it's great. No, it's great. I love it. You are so hungry. They are screaming, crying, reaching out toward you. And this keeps happening. Over and over again.
So I like pass out at this point, and I wake up again in a very similar situation.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, this is hell.
Yes.
So
Over and over. Like literally.
This is hell. I have died.
Like literally, if it wasn't clear, you roll over on your back, you see this great orb descending toward you, all you hear are screams, and then boom, you're in a completely different situation.
Vomiting
like,
up mud again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is one of those trauma things where Sahir goes fucking nuts.
Sure, absolutely.
Like
I think it makes sense.
Complete mental break, disassociates, because in hell, cannot process. There is no orientation. There is no direction. There is no up. There is no down. There is no sense. There is just pain and suffering. This is much calmer music.
You lose track of time. You lose track of where you are. There's not really any way to know. Most of the time you awake to find yourself in a haze, acting automatically, instinctively clawing your way towards something, anything, to satiate the constant hunger in your belly. Sometimes you're able to satiate it for a while. Other times, it feels like your starvation will consume you in a last-ditch effort to feed itself like it has a mind of its own. You are a rabid animal, doing everything in your power to claw your way out of delirium. Other times, the hunger isn't so terrible. It's manageable, at least for a short time. You can think straight, you can act of your own volition. You can speak, observe your surroundings, assess and plan, but as time passes, the hunger always seems to grow. A sandstorm moon is ever present in the sky. The more intense your craving becomes, the nearer it draws to you, until it envelops you in its raging winds and spits you out in some other place at some other time. You learn that you can stave it off with the new magic at your fingertips, at the cost of the lives of others. You learn that eating some foods can satiate you for a time: root vegetables, nuts, stalky plants, eggs. Other foods, though, will tame your mortal hunger, but do nothing to diminish your craving, with a capital C.
Ooh. Boy, this is just a cascading series of events. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's a sick reference to a different D&D campaign.
Oh, is it? Oh, right. Yeah, that's fair. Fucking. Oh no. I didn't even think about that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, no.
I found it. I thought you did it on purpose. I found it charming.
I did not, but but now I will claim it because that's great. Oh my god, that's amazing. You have spent. Don't worry, this is not the end.
Oh boy.
You spent the past. Listen, you gave me a lot of stuff.
I know.
You spent the past century and a half wavering in and out of consciousness like a man in a coma. All told, you think that you've been awake and aware for a total of 2 years worth of time. You can't remember every second of every time the moon spat you out, and that's probably a good thing because most of those memories were considerably less than pleasant. But a few events stand out in retrospect. We're gonna kind of go through some of the highlights of those 5 scenarios now. We're not gonna, I don't want to spend too long on them because I recognize that we've already been going for.
I will restrain myself to one interjection per thing, but I love playing D&D, Krista. You do such a good job of describing things. I'm loving this.
I'm glad you're enjoying it, and I also don't want you to have to stifle yourself with this too much. I just want to be cognizant of your time and
yeah.
stuff like that. So it's
I know.
it's whatever works.
Delightful.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. I have basically 5.5 scenes for you.
Okay.
You are in a small, ramshackle house, constructed piecemeal out of various scraps and wood trinkets. A flamingo struts around in the corner nearest to you. The ceiling is low, but then the hut's 2 residents are very small, and aren't used to entertaining guests, certainly not of your size. They're heading for the door. Grunts, both of them. One whose pale blue skin is wrinkled with age, the other whose skin is plagued with a number of unsightly lumps and protrusions. They are your hosts, your newest friends. How Mai Tika, or Maya, and her granddaughter, Ahorangi. There will be a test.
I was gonna say, please send me all of these names later.
I will.
I gave up on writing down notes for those way long ago.
How Maya Tika and Ahorangi. Or just Maya. I feel like Ahorangi isn't as bad, but definitely How My Tika took me some practice to be able to say. The former Maya, this older grung, kind of cocks her head at you as she reaches the door. Have you changed your mind, or are you coming along?
Yeah. Maybe I will come.
That's the spirit.
Yeah, maybe I will come. Gets up, looks at the flamingo.
Yeah, you've always got a bird with you. You don't know why. There's always a bird. Florence?
Please protect my bedroll from the worms. Okay, I am ready.
They both kind of giggle at that. You head down out with the 2 of them. Ahorangi kind of pats you a little bit on your arm as high up as she can reach, and says, "Don't worry, I can't really stomach being out for too long at a time before I start getting tired, so we won't be out for too long."
The music is peaking.
It is. That's not intentional.
We open the door. It's like that scene from oh god, what was it? The newer Star Wars one where they all go to sleep and they wake up and it's like a festival-wide planet, a planet-wide festival or something.
Oh god, I don't know which one you're talking about.
It wasn't like the latest one.
Oh, okay, I have not seen it yet. I don't think.
Yeah, that one. Don't worry.
Oh my god. Yeah, you head on out with the 2 of them. They've been your gracious hosts for the past day or so. You've really only known them for a tiny bit of time. You showed up in the middle of the fucking mountains. And by some luck, maybe? ? You happen to be fairly close to a settlement that you have come to know is called Trouble.
Town or Trouble?
Yeah, it is very much, you pick up very, very quickly. It is called Trouble because that way people can call it that without really, other people catching on as to what they're talking about.
Yeah, gotcha.
You don't think that it would last. But it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get into trouble. They're talking about the city.
Gotcha.
It is, where are my fucking notes about this? God damn it. You, head out into this city. It's pretty small. It is, let me get you kind of an image of what this looks like. If my thing will function. the Yep. So this is what the Skylands Heights looks like. This is where you have sort of popped up. And with that in mind, this is sort of what this little village looks like. It's very, very ramshackle. Like I want you to think very much like you know the big like pirate haven in the third Pirates of the Caribbean movie where it's like a bunch of ships like sort of smashed together into a thing. That's kind of the vibe. That's going on.
Or like the Wookiee Tree Village as well.
Yes. A little like, sort of a combination between those things. It's very much just like whatever the fuck they could throw together to make something that's like vaguely house shaped. And you gather based on people's reactions to you as you enter this town that they really they don't expect people to like stumble across this. But you have. A lot of the people here that you have seen are like actively, like some of them are just distrustful to you. Others are like actively antagonistic to you. But two people, in particular, these two grung, sort of saw you wandering around looking lost and were like, "Oh, you come stay with us. You know, we are not like the rest of the people here. We will not fuck you over. We will just make sure you're good, if that's what you need."
Yeah.
And they're kind of going out partying. You've known them for like 12 hours maybe at this point.
Yeah, I think Sahir like steps outside and like regathers I think at this point he has collected random cloths and that kind of thing, and I imagine this is one of the longer spats of not just like waking up and immediately being starving, but I think that craving, like he's clocking the craving and he's kind of like, I think at this point he knows how much time he has, and he kind of feels like he has like a day or two, and he wants to feel human. Yeah. So absolutely. He follows them out. It's like, so where are we going? What is fun?
What isn't fun around here? Says Maya. There are plenty of bars, there's plenty of people who will just give you alcohol, though you have to be a little bit careful about it, because sometimes you don't know what they've put in it. Not Ronki's just like, Grandma, calm down. We're gonna go poke around and see what we can find and just have some fun, you know?
Okay. I think this is a really weird experience for Sir. I think this might be the first time anyone has treated him like he is a human being.
Sure,
since he started waking up vomiting stuff. And also I think at some level, like, I don't know how much of his memory of the past is like concrete. I think there's like there's times when he just forgets it all, and then like he turns a corner and it's just like, whoa, Jesus. Not Jesus specifically. Whoa, time is it? but and it like all comes like flooding back. Like his brain is trying to put up dams against the trauma of watching the whole city burn and like trying to call people back towards the temple. But just like his attempts to like bar doors or secure gates, like that trauma just comes smashing right through and just like hits him again. And so I think at this point he's just kind of like, okay, yeah, fun. Drinking then?
Drinking, partying, carrying on. Maybe I'll get a little crazy.
Lead the way.
And Rongi's like, Grandma, calm down. You can't produce eggs anymore. And she's like, oh, I haven't tried in a while. Let's find out. We have to repopulate after all. Rongi's like, come on, Grandma.
So here goes partying with them.
Fantastic. Yeah, they chill with you for a while. They kind of explain this is something I think that you, Tom, probably already know, but just for the benefit of recapping, you learn from the two of them that really they're like the only two grung that you see in trouble. A few years ago, a group of Slot-Eye raided their clan in the Black Jungle, just beyond the Skylands Heights.
I feel like at some point Sahir's like, like the toad men, not the frog men. Yes. I like Sahir like really understands the difference between toads and frogs.
Yeah.
Because of where he grew up.
Exactly, yeah. They're like, oh yes, no, a lot of people don't understand the distinction. I'm impressed, young man. I'm slipping into Granny Clementine's voice by
It's
accident, just
okay.
like generic old lady voice. Um, um, their clan was raided by a bunch of Slatai, and they were the only two survivors as far as they're aware. The rest of them were either killed or captured. And sort of as part of this, over a little bit of time, they're sort of reluctant to tell you at first because they don't want to, harsh the vibe. But Aharongi will tell you. Have you heard of the Kuatoa? Because if not, you should probably be aware of them if you're going to be around here at all.
No, I don't think so.
The Kuatoa are what becomes of my people when the Sladai enslave them. And she basically tells you that the Kuatoa are an insane slave race of Grung. They are Grungs who have been in the presence of the limbo portal for so long that they have gone insane. And so they are pretty certain that the rest of their clan, like the ones who aren't dead, are Kuatoa now.
Yeah.
You party with them for a little while, and it's a good time. And there's something in the back of your head that you can't really place. It feels good about it. It feels fulfilled about it. And you wake up the next day, and the craving is still a few days off, but it was only a few days off yesterday, too. It doesn't feel like it's changed at all.
I think like Sahir like scrambles across the hut and like finds like a walnut or something and just like eats it and is like, is it still working? It's just like just like very feral activity, very feral energy.
You're like, whoa, are you okay? This is Aharongi.
I think so. I think so.
Good.
I think that partying last night was the best thing I've ever done. The best thing I've ever done in my life. I feel alive.
I think you might still be a little partying a little hard there, my guy. Like,
we must go again.
Need some water?
So he's like, we have to go again.
It is 9 a.m. We need it, and I'm still hungover. We'll go later. But they seem very supportive. Like both of them are like, all right, we'll go partying. We'll go partying. Just sure, fine. Let's go. And Grandma, for as old as she is able to throw it back and keep it up with you guys, pretty well. You hang out with them for a long time. You learn a little bit about Aharongi and about her conditions. She's a K-on-D. She is, was struck by one of the Sladai during their escape, and so part of the reason that they're going out and partying is because she recognizes that her lifespan is very limited, and she wants to live it up while she can, sort of at her grandmother's behest. And they party with you for a while, and eventually it stops feeling like it's enough, and the craving does start to come back closer, and you realize you're gonna have to leave. But for a while there, you are able to spend like a solid week and a half in this place.
Yeah. I think when Sahir comes to this realization, he's kind of like patting Florence on the head, and it's like, I looks to his grung host and Maya. Maya or Maya?
It's Maya.
Maya looks to Maya and goes, you have shown me kindness that I do not deserve. That I hope I can repay someday, but I am more like you than I suppose either of us knew. I am also cursed, and I can feel my curse coming closer. Thank you for showing me that there is something to live for. I will try to repay this kindness.
The two of
Though I
them.
fear
Sorry.
that you will not be there to feel it. That's all.
The two of them seem kind of, melancholy. Not a lot of this. They like you a lot. You've built a good friendship over the past week and a half. They understand, and they wish you well. And Ahorangi, as they're kind of bidding you goodbye, says, "I know what you said earlier about us maybe not being around for you to repay it, but I am going to try to stick around as long as I can. So, if you're ever in the area again, look me up. Maybe I'll still be here."
I think he here like I hope I will be able to find you again. And if please, if you have children, tell them about me.
I will. On our whirlwind bar hopping streak. A week and a half straight. Insane.
I just want to be remembered.
Oh, you'll be remembered.
We'll still be around a little longer yet, don't you worry. Now go. Go do what you need. We'll still be here.
And Sahir heads out.
Eventually, the moon descends, though not over the town of Trouble, and scoops you back up again. You go through several more iterations of kind of flashing in and out. Sometimes you can wrestle consciousness for a few days. Sometimes it's a few minutes. It's very chaotic. The next memory that really stands out to you is when you appeared in the Red Wilds on the banks of a river. You were so fucking hungry immediately as soon as you popped up, and that's a problem because you popped up pretty close to a settlement.
Mm-hmm.
So you, thinking fast, trying to do whatever you can to make sure the moon doesn't slurp you up, went and found some cattle, and slurped up the herd. Unfortunately, you were caught in the process. I'm gonna remove this song because it's a little too intense.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on here?
Yeah, and I think as Sahir is like, after he's like, no, you have to let me go. I need to leave. I need to leave.
You can leave when you stand trial for what you've done to my cows. This is the farmer that you fucked with. You are brought into this town that you learn is called Last Stand. And it's a very, very small little town, like maybe a village. And they don't really have a major system of government set up, but they do have a recently established Church of the Triad. And so when you are brought into town,
Triad.
yeah, you are brought to trial by jointly by 3 Dragonborn: Arbiter Delarax, Suncatcher Elenos, and Talon Fatihaya. They try you for what you've done, destroying an entire herd of someone's livelihood, basically.
Sahir doesn't. Yeah, I don't think Sahir argues that he destroyed a herd. He just argues that he's very dangerous and that the city will be that he is a portent of doom and the city will be doomed if he stays here.
They listen to that and they take exactly the wrong fucking message from it. The message they take is, this person has some powers that we could maybe put to good use. And they offer you a plea deal. You can go free, but only if you agree to use the power that you used against those cattle to eradicate a group of dissidents that have been opposing the church's integration with the community.
Oh, I think Sahir refuses. He doesn't. He does not want to kill people. He's like, absolutely not.
They shrug and are like, well, then I guess you're going to jail.
He's like, well, no, 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 no. I just picture Sahir just being in jail, yelling at people as they walk by, like, I need to leave.
And in fact, that is exactly what happens. You are in a cell, alone, save for a gray heron perching on your sparse bed. Outside, the wind is beginning to pick up, and your craving is rapidly intensifying. You know what this means. On the other side of the bars to your prison cell are 3 dragonborn priests. Delarax, Elenos, and Fatihai. They had previously gathered in this prison to pressure you for the 12th time to help them eradicate this group of dissidents. And now they are all staring out the open doorway with uncertainty as the moon begins its deadly descent. What do you do?
I think Sahir's just at the bars, and he just says to them, I told you this would happen. I warned you this would happen.
Then do something to stop it. One of them turns around to sit.
It is too late.
What do you mean it's too late? Control it! Like you did with the cows.
Just as you are witless pawns of your fucking gods.
The wind picks up.
Behold my god. And I am sorry, but I am just its pawn as well.
You sit there as they scream at you to try to get you to do something about it. Their cries becoming more and more desperate as time goes on.
And I think that's really upsetting for Sahir. Sahir doesn't want this. Sahir doesn't like it when he can't help, when he can't do these things. And I think Sahir just sits dejected and cries in the cell. Just sobs for the town, for the random people that he saw going about their day, that were totally innocent in this place. And I also think that his tears are like that like gray mud as well.
Oh, that's a great twist. I love that. I'm obsessed. One thing you should know about Last Stand, just for your notes. Last Stand is a town located sort of halfway between Brittlevale and Bone Rest.
Okay.
It was originally an outpost, like a military outpost, during the final days of the Rampage of the Great Tarask. Which is why it's called Last Stand.
Mm-hmm.
And the area is sort of marked with like hundreds of graves from those who had fallen during the Last Stand against the Tarask. The majority of its population consists of like the descendants or companions of those that were killed during that conflict. And the moon slurps it all up.
God, why did I write this?
Yeah. Yeah, you did this.
Why did we write this?
Oh, God.
What have I done?
The next memory you have is better. It's a better one. You are in a warm room. Its back walls carved from the stone of the cavern, and its front and internal walls constructed from mud bricks. It's decorated sparsely, but with care. You made a new friend almost as soon as you arrived in the hamlet of Plaguemort. Plaguemort being a town you learned very quickly consists almost entirely of Kael'di. This is where you have learned that the Kingdom of Retham, which is a new institution that you've only just learned about over your past few bouts of consciousness.
That's right. That's what this country's called. The United States of America.
Right, yeah, it's that.
That's what they're calling it these days.
That's kind of the vibe, yeah. You learn that the Kingdom of Retham, a lot of places have been sort of when they sort of shun Kaondi, and when someone starts to show signs of being a Kaondi, they exile them here. So this is like a town almost fully composed of Kaondi.
Right.
And your friend is no exception. He is a tabaxi man with tiger markings, his body showing numerous signs of his affliction. And he has welcomed you into his home to chat further over dinner about some of the things that you saw on your way into town. When you arrived into town, you saw that people were sort of cleaning up after what looked like some kind of battle, and there was a funeral pyre, like a massive funeral pyre, like a lot of bodies being burned. And people sort of picking up the pieces after being attacked by something. You kind of met this man. His name is Khufu, which I will spell in chat for you.
I have that spelling.
Oh, cool. Let me also send you a quick image of Plague Mort.
Plague Morte.
This is sort of what the entrance to.
I swear to God, Krista, if you just send me a picture of like a zombie version of Mort the Mort the lemur.
God.
That's really cool.
Hello, it is me. I am Plague Mort. I
That's
am
really cool.
zombie.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I saw it randomly while I was on Pinterest and was like, that's it. That's the one. So that's kind of the entrance that you would have walked up to and kind of where you would have seen people dragging bodies out. Khufu has welcomed you into his home to chat further over dinner about some of the things you saw on your way into town. As he draws himself to his paws to go and stir a pot of meager stew that he's set to simmer over the fire, he passes you a bundle of spare tunics containing a human infant. Here, he says, would you mind holding Hiza for a moment? He kind of chuckles and shrugs his other arm, which is so deformed from his condition that he can hardly move it, let alone carry an infant. I'm not as ambidextrous as I used to be.
Of course. I assume she is not yours.
What gave it away?
The fleshy skin and lack of fur.
No, she is not mine. She is the daughter of a friend of mine.
And your friend
is unfortunately no longer with us. He was one of those killed in the attack. Truth be told, you're looking down at this infant as he's stirring the pot, and you realize that she's very young. Like this is a newborn child, like fresh out the cooch.
She like looks up at Khufu and is like, they kill her while she was giving birth?
Worse than that. He stirs the pot, taps the ladle on the side, and kind of wafts some of it up with his paw to smell. Truth be told, I didn't know that she was pregnant. She hid it very well, and it's often hard to tell with this condition. Sometimes there are bumps and lumps in places where they shouldn't be, so. I found Hiza here, kind of comes over and, like, gently pushes back the tunic that he has her wrapped in, looks at her face. As horrific as it sounds, it's the truth. I found her in what was left of her mother's smoldering corpse. It's a miracle she survived. It had to have been because she was protected by her mother's womb.
They burned her?
Kind of looks at you with this very, like, wry grimace. As far as they're concerned, it's the only way to make sure the disease doesn't spread.
I have what my curse is not Kaondiism, but as you can see, I choose to cover myself, so many assume it is. I
And
have
what they do.
heard of places refusing service, of exiling, of the like, but outright slaughtering. How long
He
has this
nods.
been going on for?
This is new. This was perhaps the second attack we've sustained. Thankfully, our gates are fairly well defensible, so we've been able to repel the attacks when they've come, but I don't know how much longer we'll be able to hold out with how many losses they've sustained. And it seems that Sea Ridge, the troops that they've been sending out, are hellbent on exterminating this den of disease as far as they're concerned. And of course, if you know anything about Kaondianism, you know that this is not communicable. I can touch
They
it.
should know that too.
They should, but they don't. They, whether by ignorance or by intentionally misleading others, they assume that it is a disease. I would like very much for that not to be the case. I would like very much to go home and see my son. And looks at Hiza.
What would make that possible?
Getting this egg out of my chest would make that possible. But I don't think that even the gods can do that.
No. So what will you do then? Take care of Hiza?
I'll take care of Hiza for as long as I can. And when it is my time, I will do as others have done in the past. I will do it myself to ensure that no one else is hurt. We try to take care of it here, where we. And then hopefully someone else will be able to take care of Hiza in my place. I still have a few years left in me. And if I can't take care of my son, then I will at least take care of her. It's the least that I can do.
The wounds from the war may still fester.
I might.
I feel like for me it seems so recent.
I don't
The
think for a
men
while.
from Sea Ridge.
Hmm?
Will they return?
I would assume so. Our scouts have told us of an encampment up in the mountains. About a day and a half from here.
I think Sahir feels very good right now. I think for Sahir, this feels like one of those times that he can go a long time, like a couple of weeks,
Sure.
without needing to before the storm descends. I think Sahir looks at the child and goes, I lost a sister who was due with child. But a few weeks, or even a week before her death. And I have spent a great deal of my time since then taking and killing and slaughtering. And he kind of like carefully lays Hiza on the table with her like head well supported,
Yeah.
He kind of like looks at his hands and undoes some reps. I am trying to make amends for what I have done. You tell me the path to their camp. I will take care of them.
You watch this kind of shift in emotions cross Kufu's face. He kind of listens to you as you're talking about your sister, and like grimaces and just gives you the space to talk and hold space for you in this moment. He very clearly knows what this is like, and sympathizes deeply. And when you say that you'll take care of it, his expression shifts to one of kind of like shock, but not like clutching at his pearls, just like, come again.
Like what? Yeah.
What do you mean you'll take care of it? What do I want to know?
Are a man who is called a monster. I am a monster who is called a man. I will take care of it. And you will not see me again. But I will stop these attacks. And they will not come again.
He thinks for a good long moment. That is something that you feel called. I don't know that I could stop you if I wanted to. And truth be told, as selfish as it may sound, anything to make sure that Hisa survives. Maybe one day my son will be able to visit me before I go. I know I'm rambling. But I can see the man inside of you, Sahir. And I can see that he is good. And so I will tell you where they are. But I don't want you to lose that goodness, that man. So, before I tell you, you're going to eat, we're going to drink, we're going to talk, and just be. For at least the night.
Yeah, I think Sahir acquiesces and tells him his life story, as outlandish as it sounds and seems.
Sure.
And yeah.
For his part, Khufu tells you his story as well. He's like in his 30s. He contracted candism shortly before the birth of his son, who is now a toddler, and recently had to, over the past, like, I think it was like 2 years, maybe a year and a half, had to move here. Was forced to move here, like at knife point to go. Is kind of his whole thing. Did I give you his last name as well?
No.
Okay, let me send you that.
Oh no, you said that. You didn't spell it to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, Khufu
I'm
Tesai.
gonna have to write so many notes after this.
I know. Yeah.
Just
I know the
expect me to be
feeling.
messaging you the entire time.
Yeah, that's totally fine. Eventually he does tell you where that sort of outpost is located, and I assume, based on our previous discussion, that Sahir goes and obliterates it.
Yeah, I think Sahir does two things before he leaves. One of which I think he takes some slate and he I don't can Khufu write? as well?
Yeah, he seems like he's fairly well educated, all things considered, which sucks because it's like there's a
Right.
lot of different people that are here from all different backgrounds, and he seems, from what he tells you about his life, he had a very bright future ahead of him.
Yeah. I think he asks during this conversation for Khufu to like write of Sahir. I think Sahir has really like latched onto this desire to not be forgotten, because I think it's also really been distressing to him as he's gone to places and been like, "Oh, I'm from Al Wafra," and people are like,
What?
"What?"
What's that? Yeah.
And like the more times, like every time he goes, and less and less people are like, "Oh, I know what that is." I think that's
Yeah.
really distressing to him. So I
Yeah.
think he asks for like to write with him of the stories that they have told, and suggested as kind of like a, if you pass before she is able to remember
Mhm.
fully these stories, then maybe she will be able to carry them on. And I think when the next morning, I imagine, Sahir is going to just blow through as much of his energy reserve and just kind of just crank the craving up as much as he can by casting Goodberry and distributing it
Oh.
across the town, and leaving a whole bunch of them um, with Khufu. And I think another thing he does is he makes a little hippopotamus and a little duck
Huh?
out of clay,
Uh-huh.
and he leaves those as well. And then when he feels he is ready, he goes up into the mountains and goes to the encampment.
They are not prepared for what you descend upon them.
And I think in particular, Sahir looks for a. He's guessing. I'm guessing he looks for a red dragonborn in the encampment, in particular.
Red Dragonborn encampment?
Mm-hmm. Because he assumes that if his mother was burned to ash, that it probably was a breath weapon.
Sure.
And so he seeks out that in
Randall?
particular, and make sure that the epicenter is there.
Perfect. Roll me a straight D20.
A straight D20.
Yeah.
This is how many levels I start with. 11.
11. You don't find a red dragonborn, but you do find a gold dragonborn.
Oh, even worse, and even more angering to Sahir, because they're the ones who say that they're good.
Well, it's slightly different, but yes.
No. I know, but
yeah.
I don't. Yeah.
Yes, you find that motherfucker. You find a fucking gold dragonborn in the middle of this. It's just the only one. You fucking rain hell upon this encampment.
I think this might be the first time that Sahir doesn't feel awful about the storm descending and killing a ton of people. And I think at the same time, there's like a tiny bit of him that's like scared, because it's kind of like embracing the monster.
Yeah. Maybe I am the monster.
Yeah. This is the maybe I am the monster.
The next memory you have is you are sitting on a half wall at twilight overlooking the city of Riverdale. Its vegetation, structures, and waterways are heart-achingly familiar, and you can't help but feel a little resentment that this mirror of Al Wafra should survive the Outsiders' War when your beloved Al Wafra did not. A shoebill patrols the shallows of a nearby channel, dipping its beak beneath the surface to hunt for food. Your companion on the wall, a young leopard tabaxi named Zingeli, doesn't seem the least bit bothered by the sight, and as she reaches to pour you another glass of wine, she delivers a quick, playful tap to your shoulder. What's gotten under your skin? We should be celebrating. Her eyes glitter at you mischievously over her own glass of wine. It's not every day your new friend is anointed and ascendant, after all.
I this I was lost in memories of where I grew up.
What was that? I don't think you ever mentioned.
It was a city called El Wafra.
Awafra. I know that city.
What?
At least I've heard of it.
No one has heard of El Wafra.
I've heard of it here. Heard of it in history books at the very least. They say it was destroyed. You mean you're from Awafra?
Can I tell you a secret?
Anything. Between friends? Absolutely. Pours you more wine.
And Sahir's still covered at this point, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's up to you.
Yeah.
I would assume
I
so.
think Sahir is still covered at this point, and so he's kind of like taking tips underneath his little faith covering.
Sure.
He's like, I was born in the city of Al Wafra, the greatest city in all of Retham. The delta flowed strongly through it, and we had God. We lived in God's own garden. That was it. The largest hippopotamus you've ever seen tracked through that garden.
Nick grins at you. How big a hippopotamus are we talking? I've seen some pretty big hippos down in the river.
Because that building.
Oh.
To the top.
Oh. Well, I certainly haven't seen a hippo that big. So you have me beat there.
Yes, I loved every bit of it. The deltas, the canals. Riverdale is the first place that reminds me of it at all.
Hmm.
And now Al Wafra is nothing but dust.
So are you an elf then underneath all that? Kind of gesturing at your. She's like, you think she's a little tipsy, and she's also just like generally. You've gotten the vibe that Zingeli is just a little bit, maybe a little full of herself. She's an ascendant, so she is, as far as she's concerned, a demigod, and has just been anointed as such, like earlier today, like confirmed as that. And so between her being a little bit full of herself and being a little bit full of wine, she's not being super tactful about stuff.
Yeah, I think Sahir is. I imagine that he's been here for, I imagine, a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fast friends, charismatic. Hell yeah. I think Sahir lifts back some of his cloth coverings and like slips off his glove and shows her his hand, which is kind of, it has that rocky mud caked texture, that earthen look to it, but then also in the cracks of the mud, the almost like gold like or more amber like resin that kind of like seems to hold the pieces of him together.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, I was human. I don't think I'm an elf. I'm not sure. What do you think?
Well, I'd say that she kind of looks like the humor has sort of gone from her expression a little bit. She's looking at you. She's like, well, I'd say that if I were to categorize you as anything, I'd say maybe an Earth Ganassi, but you're saying you're human?
I was born human.
How are you still alive then? It's been, do some math, 100+ years since Awafra was destroyed?
As best I can tell, the Wafra still lives. And I am Still alive. So,
How
I
do you
suppose.
mean it still lives? I've read the scrolls, the books about it. I've been educated. Everyone knows all Wafra's
Oh,
destroyed.
it it is a feeling. Faith.
Faith.
Faith in a giant storm of what do they call it? The false moon?
Make me a quick insight check.
Yeah.
Not that you, Tom, don't already know what's
A
coming.
20.
But a 20. You can see the fur on the back of her neck raised a little bit at that. You're talking about the false moon, the Eye of Terror? She like points in the sky.
Yes, it's getting better. We're getting better. I'm working to fix it. To fix the problems. You're scared.
I mean, no, it's fine. It's just a little. It's not what I was expecting you to say.
I-
I don't know what I was expecting you to say, but not that.
It is. I know when it will become a problem, and I can tell you it will not be a problem for weeks to come.
But it will be a problem
Yes,
eventually. And what happens then?
I will leave.
She doesn't seem all that convinced. All right. Okay. Sorry, I'm not trying to be a wet blanket. It just was not.
No,
That was not what I expected.
I am sorry. I am sorry. I misjudged.
No.
This should be a day for celebrating you.
Well. Would you like more wine? More wine?
Sure.
Of course you want.
Sure.
It's a little awkward for the rest of the evening. You chat, but it's different now. There's a feeling that's kind of washed over the two of you that you can't really get past. You part ways with Zingali that evening cordially, if a little awkwardly. It would take a full sleepless night after your conversation for her to decide that you were, in fact, her enemy. The next time you met, her first attack came conversationally, as if in her self-righteousness she expected you to submit yourself to her execution willingly, like an impala fawn that goes limp in the jaws of a predator because it knows it cannot escape its fate. But you are not prey, quite the opposite. And so the next time you parted ways, and the time after that, and the time after that, and the time after that, it was not nearly so cordial as the first time. And
Oh no.
uh-oh. And sort of last but not least, with like the caveat of a minor like scene setting to get you into the attorney ad bit. You are sitting at a table piled with parchment and books, set off in a corner near a group of open windows overlooking the hissing thicket on the edges of Gravewood. At your feet, a great white swan is curled up asleep in a nest of discarded papers with its head tucked under its wing. You are starting to feel hungry, and it's making it difficult to concentrate. A voice calls out haltingly from across the table. It's starting to get bad again, isn't it? You've got that look on your face.
Yes. I do not wish this.
You
I do not wish this. I I am stuck. And nothing is making sense to me in these papers.
We have been staring at them for a while now, so maybe we just need to put them aside for a bit.
Also, the language has changed so much.
It has. I can tell.
What is this double conjugation?
I've tried to explain that to you. It's fine. It's really
It is
just for like.
Elwafran. How can you change Elwafran?
It's well, I wouldn't worry about it too much. Not. This particular conjugation is mostly used by like the hoity-toity like higher ups, so I wouldn't worry about it too much because they do it to be fancy. And
Don't even get me started on the new ruins and the ones that they got rid of.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, but yeah, I mean, that sounds like it's a whole new world out there. I know that I've said that like every single fucking day since you got here, but this is Nyawin speaking to you. She is an albino Aarakocra with albino red eyes. She is still very young, even by Aarakocran standards. And between her condition and her choice of work as a scholar, she hasn't really seen a lot of life, but you've still found her to be pleasant and insightful company for the past few months that you've spent in her bungalow, sort of researching Alwafra and your condition, and, you know, helping her with her research paper about the Alwafran dialect as well as part of that. And she's been able to keep you safe from people in Greywood who are not thrilled at the idea that you might be a Coyote, as far as they're concerned.
Yeah. I think he kind of like pushes back from the table. Sorry, my frustration. And you're right. Hunger is getting the best of me. This has been the longest that I have ever been free.
I'm sorry that it sounds like it's coming to a close because I really enjoyed our time together, but I'm also maybe selfishly glad that I was able to help, it sounds like.
This is not selfish. It is not selfish.
Well, I know that you don't really know when or where you'll be back. And I know you're not leaving instantaneously. At least I hope you're not.
No. No.
But, you know you can always come find me. If, you know, I'm still around. And we can keep working on this. We can keep at it. And in the meantime, I can keep working on it myself. And maybe there's something that I can find in your absence that'll help when you come back.
You would do that?
You're my friend. Yeah, of course I would. I mean, I can't let it get in the way of my research paper and my thesis and my PhD,
But-
you know, my dissertation and all that. She says
you
very
would-
jokingly.
You would spend years of your life for a friend of a few months who may not return in your lifetime.
Kind of shrugs. I mean, to be fair, I am only a few years old. A few months is a long time for me. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're my friend. You're a good person. You've done. I don't have a lot of friends, and you've been a good one. And I don't know if I'll ever see you again, but if I do, then I'll try to have something useful for you.
I promise you I will seek you out. And I will be practicing the things that we have worked out. And so hopefully I will be able to stay longer and longer. And maybe one day I will be free of this.
I think you will be. She's very optimistic. And she always has been. But it's comforting to hear anyway. Because she genuinely means it.
Thank you for listening to my stories.
Thank you for telling them to me.
Thank you for showing me the patterns that I could not see.
You know.
This no, not thaumaturgy, that was
No,
something else.
the other one.
The thanergy.
Thanergy, yeah.
Thanergy.
And
Thalergy.
Thalergy, you got it.
Thalergy from life, thanergy from taking.
Hey, it seems like it's worked for a few months. Maybe it'll keep helping you going forward.
I think Sahir is crying at this point, out of joy.
Sure.
But I think this is like the first glimmer of hope, and then there's a bit of joy crying, and a bit of like fear crying that he won't be back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She sees you crying, and regardless of what the emotion is, she gets up and comes on over and gives you a hug in her wings, her white feathers. It's been really good to have you here.
You are going to be one of the greatest scholars of Retham. That is what it is called now.
Yes.
You will be one of the greatest scholars of Retham.
Thank you. I hope so. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if they like my paper. I mean,
well, if they haven't, then maybe I will call a storm down upon them. Sorry.
She's like, I know you're joking, but
no,
it's okay.
I'm sorry.
All right, you don't have anything to apologize for. You're my friend. Tell you what, let's put all this aside. She kind of like starts piling all of her research notes like on top of each other and like putting them haphazardly into books and things like that and putting them away. Let's clean up a little bit, and then I'll see if I can get a porter to bring us some food, and we'll make a night of it.
I'd like that.
She orders fantasy DoorDash for you guys.
Woo! Fantasy DoorDash.
And I think.
Yeah, I think when the time comes for Sahir to leave, I think he will ask to take one of Nawin.
It is Nyawin, so it's
Nyawin.
like
Okay.
Yeah, because it's like I
didn't know how to pronounce
Spanish
it.
anime. Yeah.
Nyawin. I think he'll ask to take one of Nyawin's feathers with him in the hopes that he will be able to keep it.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. She's like, do you want a big one or a small one?
One that you think reflects you.
She will pull out one of her sort of mid-sized flight feathers. It's like a pinch and like ow, pulls it out, preenes it quickly, and then passes it over to you. It's like a foot long.
The next time that I have this much time, I will find you.
Sounds good to me.
And it will be soon. I will not go another lifetime.
What's another 140 years between friends? I'll see you later, my friend.
We'll see you later.
Gives you another big hug. You head out.
Sahir heads out.
Boy,
Sahir hates goodbyes.
Yep. Your goodbye to Nyawin feels like it happened just hours ago, but it's only taken you a few moments in your initial stages of consciousness this time around to determine that a decade has passed since you last saw your Aarakocra friend.
Sahir's gotten very good at vomiting gray mud.
Get it out of the system fast. Your craving feels very distant for now. When you look up, you can see the sandstorm moon hovering high in the sky. With all that you learned during your stay with Nyawen, you hope it will be a long time yet before it descends. There is a sprawling city on the horizon. It takes you a moment to orient yourself, but eventually you recognize it. Crossroad, the new capital of the kingdom. You've walked its streets before, albeit very briefly.
What? I guess it is time to see how many years has passed. I look around for a bird.
You do find a bird. I forgot to roll for this one, so let me roll that right now.
It's got to be a duck.
It's got. Oh, right, it has to be a duck. That's right. I forgot. Yeah, yes, it's a duck.
This one's a duck.
That's the reason I didn't roll it, and I just forgot. Is you have a duck that's like actively quacking and flying toward you from out of fucking nowhere. Just
Stop. I know. You are hungry. I am hungry. There is a town. Let us go and see the town. What is your name?
I hope the quacks are picking up on the recording.
Yes, I do too. Okay, very good. Now, if I remember correctly, I had a recommendation for a restaurant that I should try in Crossroads. Here's gonna march towards Crossroads.
You're heading to Crossroads, full
With
of
his-
purpose.
With his like 12-year-old restaurant recommendation.
Yep. See how it goes. You head into Crossroad with your restaurant recommendation, full of purpose and accompanied by a duck. And eventually, while you are in the city, you come across a poster for a certain tournament.
Pulls it off the wall. Yeah, blah blah blah. Tournament, blah blah blah. Event of the century. How often do they have it? Excuse me. Excuse me.
Yes.
This tournament. How often does this happen?
So every 3 years, like usual.
How can it be the event of the century if it happens every 3 years?
Well, they tend to overcompensate for how good it's gonna be. It's advertising, that's all.
But it's the best one.
Oh, it's certainly the best event of 3 years. I don't know of the century. We'll just have to see.
What?
I will tell you this. I'm guessing you're probably new around here. Every single tourney is supposed to be the event of the century. They put the same. Can I say that really quick? And he takes the advertisement. He's like, yeah, this is the same one they put up 3 years ago. They're just saving money. It's not like it's a big deal. Don't get me wrong. But of the century,
But it is something unlike anything else. Yes.
well, sure. It's.
Would you say participating in it is exciting?
Oh, I don't think there's anything more exciting, if I'm being completely honest.
Allergy.
Tourney ad.
Allergy.
I don't know what that means.
It
but,
means
okay.
it means that I am going to go experience life, my friend.
Uh-huh. It's like backing away. I'm like, okay.
Wait,
Sure, buddy.
where can I sign up for this?
The stadium. It's
Which
down-
way is the stadium?
He gives you some directions down the street. They're having sign-ups. I think you're in luck because it starts in like a couple of days, is what I understand. But you gotta have a team.
A team?
Oh, and if you don't have a team, they have people there that also don't have teams, so you can sort of pick. You can sort of see who you gel with and pick a team on the spot. But you got to pick a team.
Would you be on my team?
Oh no, I'm not. You're funny. No, I am not cut out for.
Okay.
As much as I would like the fame and the glory and the money.
Yes. Sahir like walks off while this guy is still talking.
Amazing.
It's just like following the instructions while holding the poster and like looking up around. What is my duck's name? I gotta come up with it.
You're gonna have to come up with it between now and when we have session 1.
I know, yeah. I think Sahir goes to find the stadium.
Amazing. And that is pretty much where we will pick up in session 1.
Cool.
Oh, I hope you had fun.
I did. I love playing D&D again. Thank you, Kristen.
Yay, you're very welcome.
He's delightful.
Good, I'm
He's
glad.
super fun. I'm gonna have to listen to the playback and write down a bunch of squillion notes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's so many. This was a massive solo session.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for going through all of that. Yeah.
I felt like it was really important to me to make sure that all of everyone's important NPCs, like, you had at least a minor interaction with them.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I wanted to go with here.
I think the main thing I take away from this is Sahir fucking hates saying goodbyes, and he keeps saying goodbye to people over and over again.
Oh, there is one aspect that I was trying to work into, like, the narrative aspect of the solo session that I didn't find a good way to do that.
Yeah.
And that was the secret third option for how stuff works. That I wanted to...
Do you want to share it with me, or do you want me to discover it in session? Or do you think this is something Sahir would know?
This is something Sahir would absolutely be aware of by this point.
Okay.
This is something you have been dealing with for the past many incarnations. It started out as just a very subtle thing, but over time it's become a lot more prominent. Sahir regularly has, when he goes to sleep, he has visions. They're very brief. They always center around someone that was in that room, in the nave, when everything went to hell. And it is them doing stuff. Sometimes it's them dancing with a partner, sometimes it's them eating a particular kind of food, sometimes it's them going out partying, it's various stuff. And one of the things that you've been able to figure out, you've been sort of doing this passively over a while, but one of the things you've been able to figure out with Nyawan's help is
I was gonna say, is this what Sahir figured out with Nyawan?
Yeah, this is one of the things. Yeah, and it's not necessarily, so it's like, this is an extra thing, so it's you can still get Thalergy from doing various experiences, but you also basically have an overcooked order going on.
Oh god.
If that makes sense.
Yes, that makes perfect sense.
So it's like, if you are able to fulfill that order for some kind of life experience, then you get to reduce the hunger by a point. If you take too long to go to do that thing, or if you can't for whatever reason, then you gain a point, because it's a soul within the moon who's not satisfied.
Yeah, and we'll scale those that point to make it to where it's the right number. Okay, yeah, I get it. All right, that's sick. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hooray! I'm glad you like it. That was one thing I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work, but we're gonna try.
It's a vibe. I sure hope that you have a good generator ready, but I know you.
I don't yet, but I will by the time session 1 starts.
Either a good generator or just a long list. It's probably gonna be way easier to just write a long list initially, and then just a roll table, right?
That's probably what I'm gonna end up doing. I have some ideas for how I'm gonna go about doing that. Like, give some basic ideas to start with, and kind of go from there. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Alrighty. I'm glad you had fun.
I had a lot of fun. I realized as I was sitting down, I was like, fuck, I haven't practiced any voice for Sahir.
You are extremely bad.
So Sahir may sound different next time we play.
It's totally fine.
Think about it.
That's totally fine. I was going with, like, for Nanaya, I was like, let me just do, like, the voice, the accent that Tom established for Shivala, and we'll just go with that.
because I was claiming that was, like, semi-Ratham.
Yeah.
Which is kind of where I, like, defaulted back into the range of as well.
Yeah, it works. Oh my goodness. Alrighty, I will talk to you later, my guy.
Thank you so much for running this. I will free Ray from their prison.
Hooray. I'll talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Bye.